Warrior Lore. Chapter 1160. And a Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill with a purity of more than 90%. Another person chimed in. As someone voiced out his doubts, many pairs of eyes landed on Duan Lingtian again. It was as though they wanted to confirm if they had heard wrongly. You didn't hear wrongly. It's indeed a Grade 1 spirit weapon with a 90% amplification and a Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90%. Duan Lingtian confirmed in the face of the doubtful gazes. Whoosh! A tossed stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. The crowd was in an uproar. It's really a Grade 1 spirit weapon with a 90% amplification? A Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90%? Nonsense. Didn't the sect leader already confirm it? Don't tell me you're doubting the sect leader's words. I know, but is this possible? I've never heard of anyone refining a Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90%, nor have I heard of anyone refining a Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90%. 3 days ago, the sect leader said he could set up a large-scale inscription formation to cover the mountain wall north of Lingtian Peak. Did you believe him at that time? I didn't. Then, what happened in the end? I believe the sect leader. Moreover, I happen to know Junior Sister Kerr and Junior Sister Li Fei. This time, I have a chance to go out and look for them. The group of Lingtian sect's disciples discussed among themselves. Their doubts about Duan Lingtian gradually disappeared. All of this was because Duan Lingtian had fulfilled his promise today and set up an inscription formation that could withstand the cold wind in the north and cover the entire mountain wall north of Lingtian Peak. In their opinion, their Lingtian sect's young sect leader could not be judged by common sense. However, speaking of which, if the sect leader can really take out a Grade 1 spirit weapon with a 90% amplification and a Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90%, doesn't that mean he knows a Grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist? Moreover, he's not an ordinary Grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist. Nonsense. Do I need you to remind me of this? Would an ordinary Grade 1 weapon craftsman and alchemist be able to refine a Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90% and a Grade 1 pill with a purity of 90% and above? A Grade 1 blacksmith and alchemist like this must be a proud and arrogant person. However, since they're willing to refine those special Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills for the sect leader, I'm sure they must have a close relationship with the sect leader. The gazes from the disciples of the Lingtian sect that landed on Duan Lingtian became increasingly heated. In the past, although the Yin-Yang sect also had Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills, they were either obtained from outside or obtained from auctions outside. In the past, the Yin-Yang sect did not have much contact with Grade 1 blacksmiths and alchemists. Even if he could get in touch with the other party to forge spirit artifacts and pills for him, he would still have to pay a heavy price. Due to this reason, there were not many Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills in the Yin-Yang sect. Even the ordinary elders could not get them, let alone the group of disciples below. Today, the Yin-Yang sect no longer existed and was replaced by the Lingtian sect. However, the young sect leader of the Lingtian sect seemed to have a close relationship with a Grade 1 weapon craftsman and a Grade 1 alchemist. In the future, Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills might even be able to be used on them. How could they not be happy about this? Why? Don't tell me there's no Grade 1 weapon craftsman and Grade 1 alchemist in the Lingtian sect? Duan Lingtian asked with a frown. Warrior Lore. It had never crossed his mind that a mere Grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist would be able to make the group of Lingtian sect's elders and disciples lose their composure. As the sect leader, he could not help but feel his face burning as he felt embarrassed. Sect leader, it's true that there's no Grade 1 alchemist and Grade 1 alchemist in the Lingtian sect. Luo Ping smiled wryly. Although the Yin-Yang sect was a first-rate force in the inner land, it was only a first-rate force at the border of the inner land. Among the many first-rate forces in the inner land, it was considered the weakest. Very few Grade 1 weapon craftsmen and Grade 1 alchemists would be willing to join such a first-rate force. It seems like it's time for me to trick a few Grade 1 weapon craftsmen and Grade 1 alchemists back, Duan Lingtian muttered. Although Duan Lingtian was muttering to himself, his voice was not soft. His words entered the ears of the crowd who had quieted down. Trick? At that moment, apart from Feng Tianwu, Xiongquan, and Gold Thug, everyone, including Luo Ping, Yu Ping, and Yuan, could not help but twitch their lips. However, they thought that Duan Lingtian was just making a casual remark. They did not think that Duan Lingtian was telling the truth. If my master says he can do it, of course, he can do it. Don't tell me you don't believe him? Gold Thug snorted coldly and asked in dissatisfaction when he saw the non-committal expression on their faces. When he left the Berserk mongrel rodent clan, he had obtained a lot of information about his master from Xiongquan. He realized that the more he learned about his master, the more shocked he was. Not only was his master powerful, but he was also an inscription master. Apart from being an inscription master, he was also a Grade 1 weapon craftsman and a Grade 1 alchemist. Although he was a golden hellhound with a strong heart, he was still shocked when he found out about this. At that time, he had also confirmed one thing. His master was a human. He was not a demon like him. In the face of Gold Thug's question, the people from the Ling Tian sect, including Luo Ping and the other two vice sect leaders of the Ling Tian sect, looked at each other. For a moment, nobody could answer Gold Thug. Gold Thug, why are you angry? These guys won't turn back until they hit a wall. When I trick them to come to them, they'll naturally believe me. In contrast to Gold Thug's anger, Duan Lingtian was calm. He was not upset by the doubts of the people from the Yin Yang sect at all. Please forgive us, sect leader. We're not doubting you, sect leader. It's just that what you said is just too unbelievable. Luo Ping lowered her head and bowed to Duan Lingtian as she said respectfully. Please forgive us, sect leader. All the elders and disciples of the Yin Yang sect, including the Yu brothers, lowered their heads and bowed as well. Only then did they realize that their actions earlier had offended the sect leader's dignity. Duan Lingtian glanced at the people in front of him calmly and said nonchalantly, compared to empty words, I prefer to shut your mouths and slap your faces with facts. Let's go. After Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he called out to Feng Tianwu, Xiongquan, and Gold Thug and left immediately. At once, only Luo Ping, the Yu brothers, and the group of Ling Tian sect's elders and disciples were left. Seeing that Duan Lingtian and the other three had left, many of the Ling Tian sect's disciples began to cause a ruckus again. To be honest, I still don't believe what the sect leader said. I don't believe it either. How can a Grade 1 weapon craftsman and alchemist be deceived so easily? In my opinion, even the Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who helped the sect leader refine Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills might not be able to invite them to our Ling Tian sect. Of course, those outstanding Grade 1 weapon craftsmen and alchemists would have gone to the ancient clan or sought refuge with powerhouses like Emperor Wu if they wanted to. Most of them were still doubting what Duan Lingtian had said earlier. They felt that Duan Lingtian was bragging. I don't think so. I have a feeling that the sect leader doesn't seem to be lying. 3 days ago, I also thought that the sect leader was lying to us. However, today, the truth has given me a resounding slap in the face. I also think that the sect leader wouldn't lie to us. After all, just the large-scale inscription formation that shrouded this area is enough to prove that the sect leader is a man of his word. Of course, there were also a small number of people who believed in Duan Lingtian. No matter what, whether it was those who believed in Duan Lingtian or those who did not, all of them were looking forward to the future of the Ling Tian sect. Vice sect leaders, I recognize Junior Sister Kerr and Junior Sister Li Fei. Please send me to look for them. I know them too. Me too. Soon after, many female disciples looked at Luo Ping and the other two and said eagerly, after all, as long as they could find the two fiancés of the sect leader, they would be rewarded handsomely. A Grade 1 spirit weapon with an amplification of more than 90% and a Grade 1 life recovery pill with more than 90% purity. They could not help but feel excited just thinking about it. Although some of them did not believe that Duan Lingtian could trick a Grade 1 weapons craftsman and a Grade 1 alchemist to the Ling Tian sect, they still believed in the rewards that Duan Lingtian promised. Because of this, they were eager to obtain it. Just as many disciples of the Ling Tian sect were leaving the Ling Tian peak, there was an old man hurrying on his way in the northwest direction. The old man was none other than Yun Gang, who had left the Ling Tian sect 3 days ago. He was also the guardian elder of the original Yang Peak of the Yin Yang sect. Asking that Duan Ling Tian to take over the mess of the Yin Yang sect, and he needs the help of the Yin Yang sect to look for the two girls. I think he won't leave the Yin Yang sect behind for a while. Yun Gang's eyes gleamed. In this case, it'll be convenient for Lord Yang Chun to avenge his brother. Lord Yang Chun. When Yun Gang mentioned these 4 words, his eyes were filled with respect and awe. In Yun Gang's eyes, Yang Chun was a powerhouse that was difficult to defeat. Moreover, if Yang Chun wanted to kill him, he could kill him in the blink of an eye. This was because Yang Chun was a 9th-level martial monarch powerhouse. An ordinary 9th-level martial monarch powerhouse could not be compared to him. On top of that, Yang Chun had a shocking identity. He was Emperor Wu's disciple. Most importantly, Yang Chun was Yang Hong's brother by blood. Although the Peak Master has always been at odds with his brother, Yang Chun, he's still a close relative. Yang Chun won't just stand by and watch if he knows that he's killed. Chapter 1161. After Yang Chun kills Duan Lingtian and avenges his brother, I'll ask him for help and recommend me to be Emperor Wu's disciple. Yun Gang's eyes gleamed with confidence. He owes me a favor, so it'll be hard for him to reject the favor I ask of him. Emperor Wu's disciple. This was Yun Gang's real purpose. When he had witnessed Yang Hong being killed by Duan Lingtian, this thought had already appeared in his mind. He used Yang Hong's death and Duan Lingtian to make it impossible for Yang Chun to reject his request. As for asking Duan Lingtian to become the sect leader of the Yin Yang sect, it was just a little trick he played to make Duan Lingtian stay in the Yin Yang sect. If he did not make such a request, Duan Lingtian would not have stayed. At that time, it would be useless even if he looked for Yang Chun. The Cloud Continent was so big that Yang Chun might not be able to find Duan Lingtian, who had left the Yin Yang sect to avenge Yang Hong. If he could not find Duan Lingtian, Yang Chun would not be able to avenge Yang Hong. It would also mean that he would not owe anyone a favor. That was not what he wanted to see. For this reason, he had instigated the Yu brothers to invite Duan Lingtian to become the sect leader of the Yin Yang sect and tried to persuade Duan Lingtian to become the sect leader of the Yin Yang sect. Even when Duan Lingtian wanted to change the name of the Yin Yang sect, he did not even bat an eyelid. This was because he knew that Duan Lingtian would not live for long. As the group of Ling Tian sect's disciples left Ling Tian Peak to look for Kerr and Li Fei, breaking news spread like a hurricane from their mouths. The Yin Yang sect has changed its name to Ling Tian sect. The Yin Yang sect no longer exists. Yang Hong, the former peak master of Yang Peak of the Yin Yang sect, killed the former peak master of Yin Peak who was recuperating in closed-door cultivation. At the critical moment, a young expert descended from the sky and killed Yang Hong. That young expert is the current leader of the Ling Tian sect, Duan Lingtian. For a time, with Ling Tian Peak as the center, as long as there were people in the surrounding area, such news spread everywhere. Everyone knew. The Yin Yang sect was gone. The Ling Tian sect had appeared in a domineering manner, and they had a powerful young sect leader. The news quickly spread in all directions. It did not take long for the news to spread to the south of the inner land near the Ruo Shui River. A small city stood in the south of the inner land, close to the north of the Ruo Shui River. Although the city was small, it was bustling with noise, especially the restaurants inside. Today, the small town welcomed 2 uninvited guests. They were 2 slender women in white. Both of them had veils covering their faces. However, just by looking at their exposed autumn eyes and dark eyebrows, it was enough to see that under their veils, they must be peerless beauties. Sister Kerr, let's rest here for a meal before we continue our journey. One of the women who had a seductive look between her eyebrows said to the other woman who had a youthful look between her eyebrows, "All right." The latter nodded lightly and agreed. The 2 women entered the city and found a restaurant to sit at a table in front of the window. It was rare to see women in this small city, let alone beautiful women. As soon as the 2 women appeared, they attracted the attention of many customers in the restaurant. However, although most of the customers were attracted by the 2 women in veils, not many of them dared to go up and strike up a conversation. Who knew if these 2 women were powerhouses with amazing strength? If they were, they would definitely end up dead if they dared to act presumptuously. Therefore, they did not dare to act recklessly. Soon, the atmosphere in the restaurant became noisy again. Although there were still people who were eyeing the two women in front of the window covetously, they only dared to think about it but did not dare to make a move. Hey, have you heard? The Yin-Yang sect no longer exists. Suddenly, a middle-aged customer's loud voice drowned out everyone's voices in the restaurant and attracted many people's attention. The Yin-Yang sect no longer exists? Could it be that it's destroyed? At that moment, many people's eyes lit up as they looked at the middle-aged customer. At that moment, even the two women in veils sitting in front of the window could not help but glance at the middle-aged customer. Then, they looked at each other. Sister Fair, we just left the Yin-Yang sect not long ago. Why did they say that the Yin-Yang sect no longer exists? One of the women asked the other woman. The news outside can't be taken seriously. The other woman shook her head and replied. These two women were Kerr and Li Fei, who had just left the Yin-Yang sect not long ago. After they left the Yin-Yang sect, they began to cultivate as they headed north. Their destination was Yuhan Valley, which was far north of the inner land. The Yin-Yang sect is a first-rate force. How can it be destroyed so easily? The middle-aged customer continued. Then what's going on? That's right. Don't keep us in suspense. Hurry up and tell us. Many of the drinkers urged him. I'll have to start from when the Peak Master and a Vice Peak Master of the Yin-Yang sect went into closed-door cultivation to recuperate. It's said that Yang Hong, the Peak Master of the Yang Peak of the Yin-Yang sect, went insane and killed the Peak Master and Vice Peak Master of the Yin-Yang Peak while they were recuperating. The middle-aged drinker said slowly, speaking of the Peak Master and the Vice Peak Master of Yin Peak. If they were not injured, none of them would be afraid of Yang Hong. However, now that they are injured, they are no match for Yang Hong. Gasp, gasp, gasp. When the middle-aged drinker said this, there was a series of gasps in the restaurant as expected. What did the Peak Master of Yang Peak of Yin-Yang Peak want to do? Why did he kill the two powerhouses from his own sect? This news can't be fake, right? Many people questioned. I heard that Yang Hong, the Peak Master of Yang Peak of Yin-Yang Peak, wanted to be the sect leader of the Yin-Yang sect. That's why he took the opportunity to get rid of the two stumbling blocks of Yin Peak. The middle-aged customer said, if that's the case, it's possible. I've long heard that the person who wants to be the sect leader of the Yin-Yang sect must have the ability to suppress everyone in the sect. Otherwise, the Peak Master of Yin Peak and the Peak Master of Yang Peak can only control the sect together. Many people nodded. I didn't expect this news to spread here. Li Fei's autumn eyes flashed. Her red lips under the veil moved slightly as she muttered in a voice that only Kerr could hear. Sister Fair, I miss Master and Senior Sister. Kerr, who was sitting opposite Li Fei, had tears in her eyes under her pair of delicate eyebrows. She looked so pitiful that people had the urge to rush up and hug her. I miss them too. Don't worry, we'll definitely avenge them. Li Fei said seriously. Okay. Kerr nodded obediently. If that's the case, the Peak Master of Yang Peak of the Yin-Yang sect should be the sect leader of the Yin-Yang sect now. But why did you say that the Yin-Yang sect no longer exists? Could it be that the Yin-Yang sect lost two powerhouses and was wiped out by the other opposing forces? A voice resonated and attracted everyone's attention, including Li Fei and Kerr. At once, everyone looked at the middle-aged customer. Of course not. The middle-aged customer shook his head. There are a total of 4 strongest people in the Yin-Yang sect. Apart from the 2 from Yin Peak, Yang Peak also has 2. As long as the 2 from Yang Peak are there, the other forces won't dare to act recklessly. Moreover, according to rumors, the Peak Master of Yang Hong's background is not simple. As for why it's not simple, don't ask me because I don't know either. It's just hearsay. Perhaps, even in the Yin-Yang sect, not many people know about the background of the Peak Master of Yang Hong. The middle-aged customer said, Go away. At once, many people looked at the middle-aged customer in disdain. Some even gave him the middle finger. Get to the point. Why did you say that the Yin-Yang sect no longer exists? Someone looked at the middle-aged customer and urged him. Well, I'll have to start from when the Peak Master of Yin Peak and the other vice peak master went into closed-door cultivation to heal their injuries. It's said that the vice peak master had 3 direct disciples who were as close as sisters. All of them were extremely beautiful. The son of the peak master of Yang Peak, Yang Fei, took a fancy to one of the girls. For the sake of his son, the peak master of Yang Peak, under the watchful eyes of Ke and Li Fei, the middle-aged customer recounted their experience one by one. In the end, he mentioned how their senior sister, Yang Shui, died because of them and paved the way for them to pass on. Although they were mentally prepared, Ke and Li Fei's slender bodies could not help but tremble slightly when they confirmed that senior sister Yang Shui was dead. Their autumn eyes reddened slightly. Senior sister. Ke clenched her fists tightly. Her tears fell silently and were evaporated by her origin energy in the blink of an eye. A heroine among women. Women are not inferior to men. When the group of customers in the restaurant heard that Yang Shui did not hesitate to sacrifice her life to save her 2 junior sisters, all of them gave her a thumbs up. They were not stingy with their compliments at all. It's said that Yang Hong and his son went after Yang Shui's 2 junior sisters as soon as Yang Shui was killed. At that moment, a gigantic 5-colored sword ray descended from the sky and pierced through the belly of Yang Peak, causing the magma in Yang Peak to erupt. It turned from an extinct volcano to an active one. The middle-aged customer continued, "Who's so bold?" At once, many people were shocked. Piercing through the belly of Yang Peak with a sword was something that almost any martial monarch powerhouse with extraordinary strength could do. However, being able to do it was one thing, and daring to do it was another. Once one did that, it would mean that one had offended the Yin-Yang sect, a colossus. Unless one was extremely powerful and did not fear the Yin-Yang sect, one would definitely die. Speaking of the person who did it, I'll have to mention the 2 girls who escaped under the nose of Yang Hong and his son. The middle-aged customer continued, "What does it have to do with them?" Many people frowned. They were puzzled and curious about this. At once, even Ke and Li Fei, who were sitting in front of the window, temporarily suppressed their sadness and looked at the middle-aged customer together. Chapter 1162. Rumor has it that the powerhouse who destroyed Yang Peak was the fiancé of the 2 ladies. The middle-aged customer finished his sentence in one breath. Fiancé. The moment the middle-aged customer's words left his mouth, an uproar broke out in the restaurant. Young master? Ke's exposed eyes lit up immediately, but they dimmed again soon after. She did not think her young master had the ability to destroy Yang Peak. I can't believe Yang Hong would spread such fake news just to catch us. Does he think we'll believe him just like that? Li Fei's eyes gleamed brightly as she muttered to herself. What happened after that? Many people looked at the middle-aged customer curiously and continued to ask. After that, the young powerhouse snatched the saber from Yang Hong, the peak master of Yang Peak of Yin-Yang sect, with his bare hands and forced Yang Hong to retreat. After that, he killed Yang Hong and his son with just one blow. The middle-aged customer continued to speak. Whoosh! The moment the middle-aged customer's words left his mouth, an uproar broke out again. Yang Hong, the peak master of Yang Peak of Yin-Yang sect, was considered a famous person in the Ruoshui River area in the south of the Inner Land. However, such a person was killed with just one blow. Just how powerful was that person's cultivation? It seems like they did spread the fake news on purpose. Ke sighed. Although she was unwilling to believe that her young master had really come to the Inner Land and the Yin-Yang sect, she could not help but harbor some hope in her heart. Now that she heard the middle-aged customer's words, the hope in her heart completely vanished. This was because the middle-aged customer's words were too exaggerated and too ridiculous. Snatching the saber from Yang Hong with his bare hands? How powerful did he have to be to do that? Even her master, whom she admired and respected the most, might not be able to defeat Yang Hong with his full strength even if he used a spirit weapon. If her young master was really that powerful, he would undoubtedly be far more powerful than her master. She would not believe it no matter what. She did not dare to believe that all of this was true, even if her young master's innate talent and comprehension were so high that they could be said to be heaven-defying. I think the more ridiculous thing is yet to come, Li Fei muttered. As soon as Li Fei finished speaking, the middle-aged drinker continued to speak. When the young powerhouse killed Young Hong and his son, the three high-ranking officials of Young Peak who were present at the scene were scared out of their wits. In the end, they all requested that young powerhouse to be the sect leader of the Yin Yang sect. That young powerhouse agreed to it, but he made a request. The Yin Yang sect shall be renamed to Ling Tian sect from now on. The middle-aged drinker looked around and said slowly, Ling Tian sect? Ling Tian? What a crazy name. Many people glared at him. If all of this is true, then even if he is arrogant, he has the strength to be arrogant. How many people could have such powerful means like him? He killed one of the top higher-ups of the Yin Yang sect and even became the sect master of the Yin Yang sect. Someone else said, the appearance of the Ling Tian sect naturally means that the Yin Yang sect no longer exists. Now, all of you should understand why I said that, right? The middle-aged man asked as he reached the end of his sentence. Everyone nodded. Since the Yin Yang sect had been renamed to Ling Tian sect, it was only natural that it no longer existed. Perhaps, after a few decades or 100 years, nobody would remember that there used to be a first-rate force, the Yin Yang sect, in the area near the Ruoshui River in the south of the Inner Land. Then, that young powerhouse became the first sect leader of Ling Tian sect. The middle-aged drinker said, do you know the name of the sect leader of Ling Tian sect? Many people asked. It's said that his name is the same as the name of the Ling Tian sect. His full name is Duan Ling Tian. The middle-aged drinker's eyes lit up when he reached the end of his sentence. Duan Ling Tian. For a moment, everyone present remembered this name. The newly promoted powerhouse in the area near the Ruoshui River in the south of the Inner Land of the Cloud Continent, the leader of the first-rate force, the Ling Tian sect. On top of that, I heard that the sect leader of Ling Tian sect also issued an order. Any disciple of the Ling Tian sect who can find his 2 fiancées will be given a Grade 1 spirit weapon and a bottle of Grade 1 life recovery pills, the middle-aged drinker continued. The middle-aged drinker added. The eyes of the customers in the restaurant lit up when they heard this. Grade 1 spirit weapon? The sect leader of Ling Tian sect is really generous. Apart from the Grade 1 spirit weapon, there's also a bottle of Grade 1 life recovery pills. If only I can find his 2 fiancées. Who knows, I might be able to receive the reward that he promised. Many people chimed in. Perhaps the reward he promised is only for the disciples of the Ling Tian sect. After all, we should keep the goodies within the family. Someone else said, that makes sense. Many people expressed their agreement when they heard this. All of you are wrong to think this way. The middle-aged drinker shook his head and said, I heard that the Ling Tian sect will distribute the portraits of their sect leaders' fiancés in no time. At that time, the reward will be effective to everyone. The moment the middle-aged drinker's words left his mouth, the eyes of all the customers in the restaurant lit up. Is this true? If this is the case, then this is a good opportunity for us. Although it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, who knows, our luck might be so good that we can find his 2 fiancés. Many people were tempted. Moreover, I heard that if we can find one of the fiancés of the sect leader of Ling Tian sect, we'll be rewarded with a Grade 1 spirit weapon and a bottle of Grade 1 life recovery pills. If we can find 2 of them, we'll be rewarded with 2 Grade 1 spirit weapons and 2 bottles of Grade 1 life recovery pills. The middle-aged drinker continued to drop a bombshell, causing the entire restaurant to be in an uproar. 2 Grade 1 spirit weapons. 2 bottles of Grade 1 life recovery pills. It was enough to make them go crazy. I was right. What happened after that was even more ridiculous. Li Fei's eyes gleamed as she muttered to herself, Sister Fei, let's leave quickly. I have a feeling that it's not safe to stay here. Ker's eyes revealed a hint of worry. Yes. Li Fei nodded. She did not even have the time to order before she stood up and prepared to leave with Ker. However, sometimes they could not leave just because they wanted to. Yo! 2 little beauties, where are you going? A young man of about 30 years old walked into the restaurant unknowingly. There was a middle-aged man following behind him. The former was frivolous, while the latter was loyal to his duty. At this moment, the young man was staring at Ker and Li Fei with a perverted smile on his face. 2 little beauties, quickly take off the veils on your faces. If this young master takes a fancy to you, You might become this young master's 7th concubine and 8th concubine. As the young man reached the end of his sentence, he sized up Kerr and Li Fei without restraint. It's the eldest young master of the Ke clan. Looks like they're going to be unlucky. Not many women who are fancied by the eldest young master of the Ke clan can escape from his evil clutches. What a pity. Many customers in the restaurant were alarmed by the commotion. Their eyes were filled with pity when they looked at Kerr and Li Fei. They all felt that the two women were going to be unlucky. Idiot. Li Fei's beautiful eyes that were exposed outside the veil narrowed as she glanced at Capai coldly. Her red lips under the veil parted slightly as she spat out 2 words rudely. After she finished speaking, she held Kerr's hand and led her out without waiting for Capai's reply. Stop right there. When Capai saw that Li Fei ignored him and even called him an idiot, his expression turned ugly. His figure flashed as he blocked the 2 women's path at the first possible moment. You 2 bitches. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Today, I'll bring the 2 of you back and make you my female slaves. Capai glared at Li Fei as he shouted coldly, You're courting death. Even a person made of clay would have a temper, let alone Li Fei who had a bad temper. Her gaze turned cold as she attacked Capai at lightning speed. Her slender jade-like hand flashed out mercilessly. Boom, boom, boom. Li Fei struck out with her palm. The sound of air exploding rose and fell continuously. In the blink of an eye, her hand had already arrived in front of Capai. From the beginning until the end, Capai did not have time to react. Almost at the same time, the middle-aged man behind Capai snorted coldly and flashed out, preparing to block Li Fei. Unfortunately, just as he moved, Kerr, who was beside Li Fei, also moved. She blocked him and hit him with her palm. Boom! A loud sound reverberated, accompanied by a deafening sound of air exploding. Following the sound of air exploding, gusts of fierce wind came from the place where the 2 palms collided and swept through the entire restaurant. Many tables and chairs that were not occupied were sent flying. Those with low cultivations even had to squint their eyes from the wind. Boom! Before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. As Kerr and the middle-aged man's palms collided, they were equally matched. Li Fei's slender jade-like hand pressed on Capai's body. To be precise, it was pressed on Capai's dantian. With a soft sound, Capai was sent flying by Li Fei. In his dantian, origin energy poured out as if it was free of charge, similar to a deflated balloon. Bang! Capai fell heavily to the ground, knocking over a few tables and chairs before he came to a stop. However, he did not care about the pain in his body and hurriedly checked his dantian. With this check, his expression changed greatly. My dantian is crippled. You're so ruthless. You're so ruthless. Capai looked at Li Fei, his eyes filled with grief and indignation as he roared continuously. How dare you cripple my young master's dantian? Don't even think about escaping. When the middle-aged man heard Capai's roar of grief and indignation, his expression changed greatly. He immediately pounced on Li Fei and Kerr, ignoring the fact that Kerr's strength was on par with his. Now, he only had one thought. Leave the 2 women in front of him. Otherwise, he would be the unlucky one. Unfortunately, in the face of Li Fei and Kerr's joint attack, he, who had used his spiritual weapon, was killed by the 2 women who also used their spiritual weapons. Both of you should leave quickly. The Ke clan has a huge business and is a second-rate force. It's rooted in this city, and it's not something you can afford to offend. A kind-hearted person used his origin energy to remind Li Fei and Kerr. Chapter 1163. I can't believe they're also martial monarch powerhouses. After Li Fei and Kerr left, many people sighed. It did not cross their minds at all. These 2 delicate-looking girls actually possessed such powerful strength. Many people who harbored evil thoughts about the 2 ladies felt a lingering fear in their hearts when they saw Capai lying on the ground like a dead dog. This time, the Ke clan's eldest young master has been crippled and a martial monarch powerhouse has died. I'm afraid the Ke clan won't let this go easily. Someone said with a fearful expression. His words received the approval of everyone present. The Ke clan was a second-rate force. It was nothing in the inner land of the Cloud Continent. However, in this small city, the Cook clan was the absolute local tyrant. Nobody dared to provoke them. Very soon, someone who wanted to establish a relationship with the Cook clan sent the Cook clan's eldest young master, Kupai, whose Dantian had been crippled, back to the Cook clan. It caused a commotion in the Cook clan. Subsequently, 3 of the remaining 5 martial monarch powerhouses from the Cook clan made their move. They wanted to chase after Li Fei and Kerr, who had crippled Kupai's Dantian and killed the Cook clan's martial monarch powerhouse. Any one of the 3 martial monarch powerhouses from the Cook clan was stronger than the person Li Fei and Kerr had killed together. Among the 3 of them, the stronger one was at the 3rd level martial monarch stage, while the weaker one was at the 2nd level martial monarch stage. Unfortunately, they could not find Li Fei and Kerr even after searching for a long time. Very soon, 2 portraits were sent out from the Cook clan. Each of them was a portrait of a lady wearing a veil. Other than the parts that were covered by the veil, the 2 ladies' eyebrows and eyes were clearly drawn. As long as one had seen the portrait, even if the 2 women took off their veils, one would be able to recognize them at a glance just by looking at their eyebrows and eyes. This was because the portraits were too similar. It was a coincidence. On the same day that the 2 portraits were sent out from the Cook clan, a female disciple from Lingtian Peak happened to pass by and saw the 2 portraits. Its junior sister Li Fei and junior sister Kerr. This female disciple of the Lingtian Peak was originally a female disciple of the Yin Peak of the Yin Yang sect. With a single glance, she recognized that the 2 veiled women in the portrait were Li Fei and Kerr. After asking around, she understood what was going on. They even dared to touch the fiancé of our Lingtian sect leader. This Cook clan really doesn't want to live anymore. The female disciple of Lingtian Peak thought to herself. However, even though she had such thoughts, she did not go to the Ku family to settle the score. She knew that she alone could not do this to the Ku family. She rushed back to the Lingtian sect at full speed. A few days later, Duan Lingtian received the news. He immediately brought Gold Thug to the small town where the Ku family was located. Ku family? Standing in the sky above the Ku clan estate, the corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled into a cold smile. Master, do you want me to annihilate the Ku family? Gold Thug asked. There's no hurry. Let me see if I can get anything out of the eldest young master of the Ku family. Perhaps I can find some clues left behind by the 2 girls. As soon as Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, his body moved and landed in the courtyard where the eldest young master of the Ku family, Kupai, lived. Gold Thug followed behind Duan Lingtian like a shadow. Who's that? Duan Lingtian's appearance alarmed many people. Among them were Kupai himself and a few servants and maids who were in charge of serving him. You're Kupai. Kupai, who was sitting in the courtyard and sunbathing, saw the purple-clad young man in front of him disappear as soon as he opened his mouth. When he reappeared, he was already in front of him. You. Who are you? While Kapai's expression changed drastically, he hurriedly signaled the servants and maids with his eyes. It was obvious that he wanted them to call for help. The purple-clad young man in front of him gave him too much pressure. At once, the servants and maids around Kupai left the courtyard in a panic. From the beginning until the end, whether it was Duan Lingtian or Gold Thug who was following behind Duan Lingtian, nobody stopped them. It was as though they did not see them leave. Naturally, with Duan Lingtian and Gold Thug's abilities, it was impossible that they did not notice the servants and maids leaving. It was just that they did not care. Tell me everything that happened a few days ago when you met the 2 girls. Duan Lingtian looked at Kupai calmly and said indifferently, What girls? Kupai did not react in time due to his panic. The 2 girls who crippled your cultivation base. Duan Lingtian reminded him. Those 2 bitches. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, Kupai finally regained his senses. He immediately recalled the 2 women he had met a few days ago. His heart was filled with rage as he instinctively cursed. As soon as he cursed, he regretted it. The purple-clad young man in front of him was obviously here for the 2 girls. If he cursed the 2 girls in front of him, the purple-clad young man might be unhappy. As soon as Kupai thought of that, he felt a cold aura coming from the purple-clad young man in front of him. In the blink of an eye, it pressed down on him. He was almost suffocating from the pressure. Ah! In the next moment, he did not see the purple-clad young man and the golden-clad old man in front of him move, nor did he hear any sound. All he felt was a heart-wrenching pain coming from his shoulder. He could not help but scream in agony. When he came to his senses, he realized that one of his arms had been chopped off. He was so frightened that his face turned pale, and he broke out in cold sweat from the pain. You! He looked at the purple-clad young man in front of him furiously. In the end, he could not say a word. To be more precise, he did not dare to say a word. What a joke. If the purple-clad young man could cut off his arm without making a sound, he could also kill him without making a sound. No matter how angry he was, he did not dare to provoke the purple-clad young man any further. Now, he could only hope that the servants and maids who left would bring reinforcements quickly. That was the only way he could be saved. When my father comes, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death. At the same time that Kapai used his concept to suppress the blood flow, a cold gleam could be seen in the depth of his eyes. It was as though he was about to devour someone. I don't want to repeat what I said just now. Duan Lingtian's tone was still as calm as ever. It was as though he was not the one who chopped off Kapai's arm. When Kapai heard the seemingly calm words, they were like the devil's words. Horror dawned on him as he said in a panic, I'll talk. Kapai told him everything that happened that day. He did not dare to hide anything. After listening to Kapai's words, Duan Lingtian did not find any clues. For a moment, his eyes were filled with a cold gleam as he continued to stare at Kapai. This person dared to profane his fiancée? I've already answered you. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. Kapai said in a panic when he noticed the cold gleam in Duan Lingtian's eyes. His eyes and face were filled with despair. Who's there? How dare you be so presumptuous in our clan? Just when Duan Lingtian was about to kill Kapai, a loud voice came from outside the courtyard. It was getting closer and closer. Whoosh, whoosh. A moment later, 2 gusts of wind blew into the courtyard. 2 people appeared next to Kapai. One was a strong old man, and the other was a skinny old man. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Then, another 3 people appeared next to Kapai. One was a bearded man, and the other 2 were middle-aged men. Pyre. When the bearded man saw Kapai's severed arm, horror dawned on his face. He wanted to pick up the severed arm on the ground and reattach it to his son. Boom. Unfortunately, before he could pick up his severed arm, a vast amount of energy surged out and instantly turned his severed arm into dust. It was Gold Thug who was behind Duan Lingtian. He had destroyed Kapai's severed arm. You're seeking death. Horror dawned on the bearded man's face. At the same time, the origin energy in his body skyrocketed. His profundity and concept followed like a shadow as he charged toward Gold Thug. He unleashed all of his second-level martial monarch stage techniques. You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Gold Thug smirked and took a step forward. He did not seem to make any movement, but a gush of energy suddenly skyrocketed from his body and surged toward the bearded man. Boom. In an instant, the bearded man was engulfed and turned into dust. He completely disappeared from this world. A second-level martial monarch stage martial artist died just like that. He did not even know how he died. Father. Upon seeing this, horror dawned on Kapai's face as he cried out in grief. Clan leader. The 2 middle-aged men who appeared with the bearded man were horrified. They did not expect the living person who was standing next to them earlier to turn into dust in just a blink of an eye. Who are you people? Compared to Kapai and the other 2 who had lost their composure, the 2 old men looked at Duan Lingtian and Gold Thug solemnly and asked with dread in their eyes. You don't even know who my master is, and yet you dare to place a bounty on my 2 mistresses. You're really bold. Gold Thug looked at the 2 old men with a faint smile. Both of you, is there a misunderstanding? The sturdy old man asked with a wry smile. Yes, maybe it's really a misunderstanding, the skinny old man added. Although both of them were the strongest in the Cook clan, they were both at the 3rd-level martial monarch stage. Even so, they knew they would not be able to kill the clan leader of the Cook clan who was at the 2nd-level martial monarch stage in just one blow. The golden-robed old man in front of them gave them an extremely dangerous feeling. Misunderstanding? Gold Thug smirked. With a raise of his hand, 2 drawings appeared in his hand. You're saying this is a misunderstanding? When they saw the 2 drawings of a veiled woman, the expressions of the 5 people from the Cook clan, including Kapai and the 2 old men, changed. Boom. The sturdy old man was the first to react. With a raise of his hand, he killed Kapai, who did not even have time to react. Kapai was the instigator of this entire incident. Both of you, this incident is Kupai's fault. It has nothing to do with the Cook clan. Now, the Cook clan has killed Kapai to give both of you an explanation. Chapter 1164. Gold Thug. From now on, I don't want to see this Cook clan ever again. Duan Lingtian merely glanced at the anxious members of the Cook clan indifferently. He did not pay any attention to them. With a flash of his body, he disappeared into thin air. As he disappeared, he left behind a sentence. Yes, master. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, horror dawned on the few members of the Cook clan. However, Gold Thug's eyes lit up. Boom. Before the remaining 4 martial monarch powerhouses from the Cook clan could react, raging milky white flame rose from Gold Thug's body. 3 types of profundities followed him like shadows. Ever since he had fought with Duan Lingtian in the Berserk mongrel rodent clan, he had not fought since then. He had been holding back for a long time. Now that he had the chance to fight, he could not help but feel excited. Boom, 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 boom. Gold Thug unleashed his strength as a 6th-level martial monarch powerhouse. The strongest among the 4 powerhouses was only at the 3rd-level martial monarch stage. In just a blink of an eye, they were drowned by his strength and turned into ashes. After all the martial monarch powerhouses from the Cook clan were killed, it was even easier for Gold Thug to deal with the remaining people. He casually lifted his leg and stomped on the ground. A terrifying energy surged into the ground and instantly caused cracks to appear on the ground of the Cook clan's estate. Countless cracks formed a spider web and continued to spread. Boom, 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 boom. The buildings in the Cook clan's estate collapsed one after another. It was instantly turned into ruins. Only blood was left on the ground and some members of the Cook clan who were trying to escape in a sorry state. However, these members of the Cook clan could not escape from Gold Thug even if they wanted to. In just 15 minutes, the entire Cook clan's estate had been turned into ruins. Apart from Gold Thug, there was no one else left alive. What happened to the Cook clan? Oh my god. Who did this? This is too much. The commotion in the Cook clan was huge. In just a short while, it attracted everyone in the small town. When they saw the ruins of the Cook clan's estate, all of them were dumbfounded. I just passed by the Koo family mansion half an hour ago. I remember that the Koo family mansion was still in good condition. In just half an hour, the Cook clan's mansion was reduced to ruins, leaving no survivors. Who exactly did this? That person's strength is too terrifying. While many people were discussing spiritedly, their eyes were filled with fear. I, Duan Lingtian, will annihilate the entire family of those who dare to scheme against my 2 fiancés. The Koo family is just the beginning. Just as everyone was shocked by the destruction of the Koo family in half an hour, a loud and deep voice sounded from the horizon, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Duan Lingtian? Could he be the leader of the Lingtian sect that was renamed from the Yinyang sect? Very soon, someone reacted and looked up at the first moment. Not long after, people began to look up one after another. A purple figure appeared in front of them. It was a handsome young man. His purple robe fluttered in the wind, and his body exuded an otherworldly aura as though he had merged with heaven and earth. He's Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the Lingtian sect? He's as young as the rumors say. Many people exclaimed. After a while, everyone only saw a flash in front of their eyes before the purple figure disappeared into thin air. Disappearing along with the purple figure was a golden figure that followed behind him like a shadow. The golden figure also disappeared before everyone's eyes. He's gone. At once, many people heaved a sigh of relief. Although the purple-clad young man was standing in the sky and was far away from them, they could still feel the pressure from the bottom of their hearts. Now that the purple-clad young man had left, the pressure finally disappeared. I, Duan Ling Tian, will annihilate the entire family of those who dare to scheme against my two fiancés. The Ku family is just the beginning. Soon after, the words Duan Ling Tian left behind before he left began to reverberate in everyone's ears again. Based on what the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect said, it seems like the Ku family is plotting something against his two fiancés. Many people guessed. It can't be. The Ku family is so bold. Even more people found it unbelievable. A few days ago, the news that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, Duan Ling Tian, was looking for his two fiancés had already spread to the small town they were in. They believed that the Ku family must have heard the news as well. Could it be that the Ku family dared to go against the wind and commit a crime? Would they not hesitate to offend the Ling Tian sect? That's right. Soon, someone reacted and made a reasonable judgment. As far as I know, the only thing the Ku family has done these few days is to search for the two veiled women who crippled the young master of the Ku family. Do you think those two women are the fiancés of the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect? Hua. As soon as this person spoke, the entire place fell silent. After a while, it became noisy again. It's really possible. That's not right. I've seen those two veiled women in the restaurant before. If they are really the fiancés of the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, they should know that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect is looking for them. Logically speaking, they should have returned to the Ling Tian sect. But the Ling Tian sect just sent out the portraits today. It's obvious that the fiancés of the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect did not return. Who has the portraits? Soon, someone took out the two portraits from the Ling Tian sect. On the portraits were two beautiful women. It's really them. Soon, someone took out another two portraits. The two portraits were sent out by the Ku family. Although the two women in the portraits were wearing veils, their eyebrows and eyes were exactly the same as the two beautiful women in the portraits from the Ling Tian sect. That means they haven't returned to the Ling Tian sect yet. They must be throwing a tantrum and unwilling to return. It doesn't matter if they're throwing a tantrum. Since they haven't returned, it means we have a chance to find them. That's right. Many people were instantly excited. It was as though they had been injected with chicken blood as they rushed out of the city. It was as though they could see Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills waving at them. On this day, the small city was exceptionally lively. However, news of Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, annihilating the entire Ku family in a fit of rage for his women, began to spread. For a time, some people scolded Duan Ling Tian for being cold-blooded and ruthless. Some people also said that Duan Ling Tian was loyal and righteous. He did not hesitate to shed a river of blood in a fit of rage for his women, no matter what. This time, Duan Ling Tian became famous. He was completely famous. Anyone who has designs on my two fiancés, I, Duan Ling Tian, will annihilate their entire family. The Ku family is just the beginning. Duan Ling Tian's words spread like wildfire among the crowd. For a time, all the unmarried women in the Innerland's southern area near the Ruo Shui River secretly admired Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, whom they had never met before. As a woman, if I can marry the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, I'll have no regrets in my life. This sentence gradually spread. Gradually, it was not only the unmarried women, but also a group of resentful women and married women who yearned for Duan Ling Tian. A man. This is a real man. If someone can be like the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect and annihilate an entire family for me, I'll definitely kick that dead man out of my family and marry myself to him. As it turned out, the power of women was limitless. Not long after, Duan Ling Tian was pushed to the forefront by them, causing Duan Ling Tian to become the lover of the masses in the Innerland's southern area near the Ruo Shui River. If I was born 70 years earlier, I'd definitely marry the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect. Even some old women who had one foot in the coffin would often mutter to themselves like this. When the news spread like a hurricane and reached the ears of the Duan Ling Tian sect and the Ling Tian sect, Duan Ling Tian was speechless. Those women are really good at bullshit. Duan Ling Tian shook his head helplessly. He did not expect the words he said in a fit of rage would have such an impact. What? Are the two of you gloating? Soon after, Duan Lingtian turned around abruptly as though he had eyes on the back of his head. He glared at Xiong Quan and Gold Thug, who were secretly laughing. Feng Tianwu was the only one who stood quietly at the side. When she looked at Duan Lingtian, her eyes were slightly dazed. I wonder if he'll say the same thing for me. Feng Tianwu muttered to herself, Sect leader, there's a person outside who says he's your friend and wants to see you. At this moment, a loud voice came from afar, helping Xiong Quan and Gold Thug out of the predicament. Both of them could not help but heave a sigh of relief. My friend? Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze to the person who came. The person who came was an old man. He was the elder of the Ling Tian sect. His cultivation base was at the 4th level martial monarch stage. However, when he faced Duan Lingtian, the old man appeared to be very respectful. He did not show any dissatisfaction at all. Yes, that's what he said. The old man nodded respectfully. Did he say what's his name? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. He said his name is Chen Xiao Shuai. He said that as long as I said his name, sect leader, you. The old man continued. However, before he could finish his sentence, Duan Lingtian interrupted him. Are you sure he said his name is Chen Xiao Shuai? Duan Lingtian looked at the old man and asked with a serious gaze. Yes. The old man nodded. Where's he now? Duan Lingtian asked urgently. Chen Xiao Shuai was one of the 5 great young masters of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, Sword Young Master. He had participated in the Darkstone Empire's Young Genius competition with him back then. In the end, he did not manage to obtain a place to participate in the Dynasty Martial Arts competition. However, although he did not manage to obtain a place to participate in the Dynasty Martial Arts competition, he had decided to travel around on his own. After they parted that time, Duan Lingtian had not heard any news about him. Crazy Young Master, Luo Zhan, had also left with Sword Young Master, Chen Xiao Shuai. Until now, Duan Lingtian had not heard any news about Luo Zhan. Chapter 1165. Under the lead of the Ling Tian sect's elder, Duan Lingtian saw a figure standing in the distance not long after. The figure stood there straight like a javelin, and it revealed a proud and aloof aura. It was a familiar face, but after so many years, it had become much older. The frivolity of the past was no longer there, and it was replaced by restraint and steadiness. It was as if he was a completely different person. You bastard. Why are you here? Before Duan Lingtian arrived, he had already greeted the familiar figure in the distance with a brilliant and gentle smile on his face. The familiar figure before him was none other than Chen Xiao Shuai. When he was still in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, the Sword Young Master, Chen Xiao Shuai, was very fond of him, and they could be considered to be friends. After so many years, Duan Lingtian was rather happy to see him again. Of course, at the same time, he could not help but be shocked by Chen Xiao Shuai's appearance here. This was the inner land of Cloud Continent. Even you can appear here, why can't I? A fierce aura tore through the sky, and in the blink of an eye, Chen Xiao Shuai vanished on the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, long time no see. It has indeed been a long time. However, I never imagined that the fellow who didn't even manage to obtain a spot in the Dynasty Martial competition all those years ago would actually appear in the inner land now. I presume he possesses a shocking cultivation as well. Duan Lingtian spoke slowly, and as he finished speaking, his face was filled with surprise. I just had a fortuitous encounter. I originally thought that I'd already left a freak like you in the dust, and I was even proud of it a few times. However, I didn't expect that you're still stronger than me like before. Chen Xiao Shuai sized up Duan Lingtian, and as he finished speaking, he could not help but sigh. Looks like your fortuitous encounter is not small. You're already at the 3rd level martial monarch stage. Duan Lingtian took a deep look at Chen Xiao Shuai as he spoke. Earlier, when he extended his spiritual energy, he immediately detected Chen Xiao Shuai's current cultivation base. It was at the 3rd level martial monarch stage. He was quite shocked by this. As expected of the Duan Lingtian, You were able to see through my cultivation with just one look. Chen Xiaoshui sighed. He did not seem to be too surprised. However, so what if he's at LV3 Martial Royal Realm? Isn't he still inferior to you? Not only are you the dream lover of almost all the women in this area, you're also the leader of a first-rate force, the Ling Tian sect. I heard you killed Yang Hong, the former peak master of Yang Peak of the Yin Yang sect. As far as I know, Yang Hong could be considered as one of the top figures among 8th-level martial monarch stage martial artists. As he spoke, Chen Xiaoshui looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated gaze. All those years ago, when he was still in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, Duan Lingtian was a complete monster and freak in his eyes. After they parted ways in the Darkstone Empire, he had gone through a lot of hardships. After that, he had a fortuitous encounter that allowed him to skyrocket and wander all the way. In the end, he even crossed the Ruoshui River, and he came to the central area of the Cloud Continent, which was the inner land. Initially, he thought he had already left Duan Lingtian far behind. Who would have thought that a piece of news would come and completely shocked him? Ling Tian sect. Duan Lingtian. In the beginning, he thought the sect leader of Ling Tian sect, Duan Lingtian, was just a powerhouse who had the same name as the monster he knew in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. However, his intuition told him that this Duan Lingtian was very likely to be the monster he knew. That was why he came to verify the doubts in his heart. As it turned out, his intuition was right. The sect leader of Ling Tian sect, Duan Lingtian, was a friend he had made in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. You're quite well informed. Duan Lingtian smiled. Meeting an old friend in a foreign land caused his mood to be extremely good. Do I even need to be well informed about this? Chen Xiaoshui rolled his eyes at Duan Lingtian. You're a famous person in your surroundings now. I heard that there are many unmarried girls that intend to enter your Ling Tian sect. As for their objective, I presume you don't need me to tell you. They have an ulterior motive. As he finished speaking, a wisp of an evil smile appeared on Chen Xiaoshui's face. Right, you and Luozhan left together that day. You two separated later on? Duan Lingtian completely disregarded Chen Xiaoshui's words and changed the topic. It was Duan Lingtian's words that caused Chen Xiaoshui's body to shake, and his expression became even more unsightly. What? Duan Lingtian's expression became serious, and a bad premonition faintly arose in his heart. Luozhan is dead. Finally, Chen Xiaoshui spoke with a depressed and low tone. Dead. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed as horror dawned on his face. What's going on? How did he die? Luozhan was Crazy Young Master, the leader of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's 5 great young masters. He had a good relationship with him, and he was also the grandson of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild's guild master who had helped him many times. It was hard for him to imagine. If the old man found out about Luozhan's death, how painful would he be? It's all my fault. Unknowingly, 2 streams of tears fell from Chen Xiaoshui's face, and his body was still trembling. That year, Luozhan and I traveled together all the way to the north. We passed by the Darkhan dynasty and the Darming dynasty before we finally arrived at the northern desert. After we left the northern desert, we continued to move forward. Later on, by chance, we came across the secret treasure left behind by an Emperor Wu powerhouse, and we successfully entered it. We obtained a lot of fortuitous encounters in there. We obtained many spirit fruits, concept fragments, and profundity fragments. We even encountered the profound assimilation formation more than 10 times, Duan Lingtian said. However, just when we were about to leave, we accidentally triggered the last inscription formation left behind by an Emperor Wu powerhouse. It was a killing formation. Luozhan noticed the killing formation first and pushed me out of the area enveloped by the killing formation in time to help me escape calamity, whereas he missed the opportunity to escape because of this and was killed by the killing formation. When Chen Xiaoshui reached this point, his face turned slightly ferocious. If he didn't save me, he wouldn't have to die. He wouldn't have to die. Luozhan. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. According to the Sword Young Master, Chen Xiaoshui, if Luozhan did not die, his current achievements would not be inferior to his. You don't have to be too sad. Since Luozhan saved you, you should live on for him. Duan Lingtian looked at Chun Xiao Shuai, who had a pained expression on his face, and said, I know. That's why I'll live on and do the things that he wanted to do but couldn't do anymore. In this way, I'm sure his soul in heaven will be comforted. Chun Xiao Shuai nodded, and his agitated emotions calmed down a little. What's your plan now? Duan Lingtian asked. I don't know. I just came to the inner land not too long ago. Chun Xiao Shuai shook his head. Why don't you stay in my Lingtian sect? I'll make you an elder? Duan Lingtian said with a smile. An elder in the Lingtian sect? When Chun Xiao Shuai heard this, his eyes lit up immediately. That sounds interesting. All right, I'll stay in your Lingtian sect for the time being then. You can stay in the Lingtian sect if you want. However, I have to make a promise with you. Duan Lingtian looked at Chun Xiao Shuai cautiously. He still remembered. When Chun Xiao Shuai was still in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, he would hang around brothels all day long. It could be said that he would not be happy without a woman. Half of the disciples in the Lingtian sect were female. He did not want Chun Xiao Shuai to do anything that would bring shame to his Lingtian sect. How do we make a 3-point agreement? Chun Xiao Shuai was stunned and could not react for a moment. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian spoke. His face was filled with a wry smile as he rolled his eyes at Duan Lingtian. No matter how much I want women, I won't mess around in the Lingtian sect. Even if I don't care about my own reputation, I still have to care about your reputation. It's good that you think that way. Duan Lingtian nodded in satisfaction. Let's go. I'll introduce you to a few people. After calling out to Chen Xiao Shuai, Duan Lingtian brought him to meet Feng Tianwu, Xiongquan, and the Gold Thug. It was worth mentioning that after Chun Xiao Shuai saw Feng Tianwu, he stared at her for more than 10 breaths. This was because Feng Tianwu was just too outstanding. Her peerless appearance could be said to be devastatingly beautiful. He only retracted his gaze when he noticed that Feng Tianwu's eyes were still on Duan Lingtian. So, she's Duan Lingtian's woman. Chun Xiao Shuai's heart was filled with envy. I'll bring him to see Luoping. Duan Lingtian bade farewell to Feng Tianwu and the other two before bringing Chun Xiao Shuai away to look for Luoping. Although Luoping was only one of the 3 deputy sect leaders in the Lingtian sect, she was undoubtedly Duan Lingtian's most trusted deputy sect leader. She was in charge of all the matters in the Lingtian sect, no matter how big or small. She was the only deputy sect leader who could represent Duan Lingtian. After leaving Chun Xiao Shuai with Luoping, Duan Lingtian returned to Feng Tianwu and the other two. He looked at Xiongquan and the Gold Thug immediately. Both of you, announced that the Lingtian sect is recruiting grade 1 weapon craftsmen and alchemists. Yes, young master. Yes, master. Xiongquan and the Gold Thug responded and left. If that's the case, I'm afraid none of the grade 1 weapon craftsmen and alchemists will be willing to come. After Xiongquan and the Gold Thug left, the frost on Feng Tianwu's face melted a little. She told Duan Lingtian softly, I know. That's why we have more important matters to attend to now. Duan Lingtian smiled. More important matters? Although Feng Tianwu had a puzzled expression on her face, her heart was filled with joy because of Duan Lingtian's last sentence. He had more important matters to attend to with her. It was enough to show that she had a high place in Duan Lingtian's heart. You'll find out soon enough. Duan Lingtian smiled and kept her in suspense. He then left the Lingtian Peak and the Lingtian sect with Feng Tianwu. Chapter 1166. In an area near the Ruoshui River in the south of the inner land of the Cloud Continent, there was a bustling big city. This big city was called Ataraxia City. In this city, everything was indeed peaceful, and there was almost no fighting. Even if there were fights, they would be taken away by a group of powerful law enforcers in the blink of an eye. Nobody knew what happened to those who were taken away. However, nobody ever saw them again. The group of law enforcers who took them away was from the Zhou clan in Ataraxia City. The Zhou clan was the #1 clan in Ataraxia City. It was a first-rate force. Not only did it oversee the entire Ataraxia City, but it also controlled half of the industries in Ataraxia City. As for the other half of the industries in Ataraxia City, it was controlled by a few first-rate forces. One of them was the original Yin-Yang sect, which was now known as the Ling Tian sect. Outside Ataraxia City, two figures followed the crowd into the city. A young man and a young woman who were like a golden couple quickly attracted the attention of many people. What a handsome young man! The lady next to him has a peerless appearance. She can be said to be devastatingly beautiful. Many people whispered among themselves. The people who entered Ataraxia City were Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu, who had just left the Ling Tian sect this morning. Although Duan Lingtian was the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, and his name was well known in the surrounding area, not many people had actually seen him before. Therefore, nobody could recognize him when he walked on the crowded street in Ataraxia City. Didn't you find any useful clues when you went there last time? Feng Tianwu suddenly asked. Her question was very abrupt. However, Duan Lingtian could guess what she was asking about. They were very careful. They didn't leave any clues behind. Feng Tianwu was silent. After a while, she said, "You'll meet them again?" Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. However, his expression was slightly solemn. Tianwu, do you know why I'm here? Soon after, Duan Lingtian's expression relaxed as he changed the topic. The Zhou clan's large-scale auction. Feng Tianwu spoke very little, but she hit the nail on the head, causing Duan Lingtian to be stunned. He was greatly surprised. How did you guess? When we entered the city, many people were talking about it, Feng Tianwu said. Her words were very clear. When she entered the city earlier, she heard many people discussing the large-scale auction that the Zhou clan's auction square was holding today. Therefore, she guessed. The purpose of Duan Lingtian's trip this time was also the large-scale auction that was held every 3 months by the Zhou family's auction house. I didn't expect you to be so meticulous. Duan Lingtian sighed. That's right. My goal this time is precisely the large-scale auction that the Zhou family is holding today. Speaking of which, I have already been waiting for this day for a few days. In Ataraxia City, there was only one auction house, which was controlled by the Zhou clan. Every 3 months, a large-scale auction would be held. As for small auctions, they were held every day. A few days ago, after learning about the existence of Ataraxia City and the Zhou clan, as well as the large-scale auction that the Zhou clan would hold every 3 months, Duan Lingtian had been waiting for this day. And now, he had finally waited for this day. Let's go. Let's go to the Zhou clan's auction square. The auction will begin in an hour. Duan Lingtian called out to Feng Tianwu before he turned right and walked forward. Although it was his first time in Ataraxia City, he seemed to be very familiar with the place. Feng Tianwu could not help but feel surprised. Have you been here before? No, it's my first time here. Duan Lingtian replied truthfully. It was indeed his first time here. The reason he seemed to be very familiar with the place was because Luoping had prepared a layout map of the entire Ataraxia City for him a few days ago. The map indicated the few properties of the Ling Tian sect in Ataraxia City and the location of the Zhou clan's auction square. Therefore, since Duan Lingtian had memorized the layout map, it was natural for him to be very familiar with the way to the Zhou clan's auction square since he had already memorized the route. After learning everything from Duan Lingtian, Feng Tianwu nodded lightly. I heard that the Zhou clan's auction square is different from the ordinary auction square. It's an open-air auction square. On the way, Duan Lingtian told Feng Tianwu. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu arrived at the Zhou clan's auction square. At this moment, the place was already crowded with people. Most of them were here to watch the show while a small number of them were here to participate in the auction. Let's go over there. Duan Lingtian brought Feng Tianwu to the other side. Soon after, independent pavilions appeared before their eyes. A spacious path that was paved with bluestone allowed people to move freely on it. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu arrived at the entrance of the bluestone paved path. They saw a delicate and pretty lady standing on each side of the path. They were dressed plainly and had a smile on their faces. It was as though they were bathing in the spring breeze. Dear guests, are you here to auction off something? One of the ladies asked with a smile as she looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. Her voice was as pleasant as an oriole's. I'm here to auction off 2 items. Duan Lingtian nodded. May I know what you're here to auction off? The auction is about to begin, but ordinary auction items are not allowed to be auctioned off at this time. The woman asked first, then continued, "Don't worry." When she reached the end of her sentence, she undoubtedly revealed another meaning. At this time, the Zhou clan's auction square would not auction off ordinary auction items. "I'm here to auction off a Grade 1 spirit weapon and a Grade 1 life recovery pill," Duan Lingtian said calmly as though he was not affected by the lady's words at all. "Grade 1 spirit weapon? Grade 1 life recovery pill? Dear guest, I'm really sorry. At this time, our Zhou clan will only auction off items that are qualified to be the finale," the lady said apologetically. In her opinion, although a Grade 1 spirit weapon was precious, it was not qualified to be the finale item of the Zhou clan's auction squares auction that was held once every 3 months. As for a Grade 1 life recovery pill, it was even less qualified. Duan Lingtian was not surprised by the lady's reaction. He said nonchalantly, "What if it's a Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90% and a Grade 1 pill with a purity of more than 90%? Gasp. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. The two ladies standing in front of him narrowed their eyes, and their faces turned solemn. "Dear guest, can you take out your Grade 1 spirit weapon for me to test? If it's really like what you said, I'll bring you backstage and get someone to appraise the Grade 1 life recovery pill that you brought." Although one of the ladies did not quite believe Duan Lingtian's words, she still said that in an attempt to make Duan Lingtian back off, any martial artist with origin energy in their body could test how much a Grade 1 spirit weapon could increase one's strength. As for the purity of a Grade 1 pill, one would have to get a professional alchemist to appraise it. Of course, Duan Lingtian knew very well that if he rejected the lady's request at this time, it would mean that he was guilty. It was impossible for the lady to believe that he had a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90%. For this reason, he casually handed the Grade 1 spirit weapon that he had prepared to the lady. It was a Grade 1 spirit sword that Duan Lingtian had casually refined a few days ago. It could increase one's strength by 90%. The lady who thought Duan Lingtian would back off was stunned when she saw Duan Lingtian handing over a Grade 1 spirit weapon. Really? However, as a member of the Zhou clan's auction square, she quickly regained her senses and took the Grade 1 spirit sword from Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! As the lady's hand shook, the Grade 1 spirit sword in her hand let out a crisp sword cry. Soon after, a gush of origin energy surged out of the lady's hand and merged with the Grade 1 spirit sword in her hand. Whoosh! For a moment, 1,000 silhouettes of ancient horn dragons appeared above the lady's head as though they were telling her that her cultivation base was at the 7th level void transformation stage. Soon after, the heaven and earth phenomenon appeared next to the 1,000 silhouettes of ancient horn dragons. A total of 900 silhouettes of ancient horn dragons appeared, no more and no less. 90% increase. The other lady's eyes narrowed when she saw the scene before her. Shock was written all over her face. The lady who tested the Grade 1 spirit sword was also dumbfounded. She did not expect a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90% would really exist in this world. Soon after, the two ladies regained their senses. After looking at each other, the lady who tested the Grade 1 spirit sword returned the Grade 1 spirit sword in her hand to Duan Lingtian. There was a 180-degree change in her attitude. "Dear guests, please follow me." As the lady spoke, she led Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu along the bluestone paved road and went straight ahead. Such a Grade 1 spirit weapon was qualified to be the finale of the auction today. There were pavilions on both sides of the bluestone road. Many people were seated inside. They were the people who came to participate in the auction held by the Zhou clan's auction square today. As they walked forward, Duan Lingtian was also curiously sizing up the Zhou clan's auction square in front of him. The Zhou clan's auction square looked very grand and elegant. It did not feel oppressive at all. The auction environment was extremely quiet. At the end of the bluestone road was the high platform of the Zhou clan's auction square. It was also the auction stage. Behind the auction stage, there were 2 pieces of red cloth that looked like curtains hanging on a metal frame that was prepared beforehand. One would be able to reach the backstage of the Zhou clan's auction square through the middle of the 2 pieces of red cloth. "Dear guests, this way please." However, The lady who brought Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu here did not bring them to the backstage of the auction square through the middle of the two pieces of red cloth. If that was the case, they would undoubtedly be a huge target. At that time, perhaps everyone present would know that Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu were here to put up their items for auction. As the saying went, one should not reveal one's wealth. This was not a good thing. The lady brought Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu around. After taking a few hidden turns, they finally entered a secluded passage and successfully arrived at the backstage of the auction square. However, this could only be considered as the outer area of the backstage of the auction square. This was because there were a few pieces of red cloth that were hung on the metal frame. It made the backstage of the auction square even more mysterious. This must be the place to receive people who put up their items for auction. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Chapter 1167. Dear guests, please wait for a moment. The lady who brought Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu over parted the red cloth and walked in after greeting the both of them. Her body disappeared into the red cloth. At that moment, only Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu were left outside. Both of them waited quietly. They even set up a soundproof inscription formation. Soon after, Duan Lingtian extended his spiritual energy and discovered a simple inscription formation shrouding the huge shed that was made of iron frames and covered with red cloth. Naturally, it was only simple in Duan Lingtian's eyes. It was an inscription formation that was used for soundproofing. No matter how loud the commotion in the huge shed was, the people outside would not be able to hear anything at all. Therefore, it was almost impossible to eavesdrop on the auction items that the Zhou clan's auction square had prepared. The huge shed was brightly lit, and figures were busy inside. The lady who parted ways with Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu was stopped by the middle-aged man as soon as she walked in. He asked in a deep voice, "What are you doing here? Don't you know the rules?" Deputy Manager Zhou Li. The lady immediately bowed when she saw the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was one of the deputy managers in the Zhou clan's auction square. He was usually in charge of the order in the auction square. If someone were to cause trouble, he would be the one to settle it. "I'm asking you, what are you doing here at this time?" Zhou Li asked impatiently. "There are two guests who brought two auction items. They want to put them up for auction at our Zhou clan's auction square today." The lady immediately replied, not daring to be negligent. "Oh?" Zhou Li's eyes lit up when he heard the lady's words. At this time, their Zhou clan's auction square would only accept auction items that were qualified to be the finale. Since the person before him had brought the guests who brought the auction items, it meant that the two auction items were not bad. "Bring me out to have a look," Zhou Li said to the lady. Yes. Although Zhou Li was not in charge of this, the lady did not dare to reject him since he had said so. She immediately brought him out. Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu waited outside. After a while, they saw the woman come out again. Behind the woman was a middle-aged man. "Dear guests, this is our Zhou family's auction house's vice manager, Zhou Li." The woman looked at Duan Lingtian and introduced. At this moment, Zhou Li's gaze landed on Feng Tianwu's body and could not move away. It was the first time he had seen such a devastatingly beautiful woman with outstanding temperament. It wasn't until Feng Tianwu frowned that Zhou Li withdrew his gaze and said with a smile, "I wonder what the two of you want to auction?" "She didn't tell you?" Duan Lingtian glanced at Zhou Li and asked. Zhou Li looked at the woman beside him. "Vice Manager Zhou Li, these two guests are here to auction a Grade 1 spirit weapon and a Grade 1 life recovery pill." Then, as the woman spoke, she wanted to explain the extraordinariness of the two items. However, before she could open her mouth, she was interrupted by Zhou Li. "Grade 1 spirit weapon? Grade 1 life recovery pill?" Zhou Li looked at the woman and was furious. "Is this your first day working at our Zhou family's auction house? Don't tell me you don't know that the large-scale auction that our Zhou clan's auction fair holds every 3 months doesn't accept items that are not the finale before the auction begins? Or perhaps, in your eyes, a mere Grade 1 spirit weapon and Grade 1 life recovery pill can be used as the grand finale of the large-scale auction held by our Zhou clan's auction square every 3 months? Zhou Li questioned the woman again and again. In the end, his tone became more and more hostile. Grade 1 spirit weapon and Grade 1 pill. Although they were considered precious items, they were still considered as precious items. However, in the inner land, as long as one was a powerful force, one could obtain a Grade 1 pill as long as one paid more origin stones or other precious items. As for Grade 1 spirit weapons, although it was more difficult to obtain compared to Grade 1 pills, it was still possible. For this reason, these two items were not qualified to be the finale of the large-scale auction that the Zhou family's auction house holds every 3 months. Deputy Manager Zhou Li, the Grade 1 spirit weapons brought by these two guests are different from the ordinary Grade 1 spirit weapons. The woman who could not interject for a long time after being questioned by Zhou Li was so anxious that her face flushed red. Humph, what's the difference? Zhou Li snorted. The Grade 1 spirit weapon brought by this guest is a Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90%. I've already tested it. It's indeed a Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90%. The woman hurriedly explained. A Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90%? She even tested it? Upon hearing the woman's words, Zhou Li's eyes narrowed slightly. He immediately looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. A bright smile bloomed on his originally gloomy face. Both of you, I wonder if you can take out that Grade 1 spirit weapon for me to test? Zhou Li asked. Duan Lingtian glanced at Zhou Li nonchalantly before he casually took out the Grade 1 spirit sword from earlier and handed it to Zhou Li. After Zhou Li obtained the Grade 1 spirit sword, he began to test it. In the end, he discovered that it was indeed a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90%. It should be noted that an ordinary Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 87% was already considered good. If it could increase one's strength by 88%, it would be considered a rare item. If it could increase one's strength by 89%, it would be considered a superb item. If it could increase one's strength by 90%, it would undoubtedly be the best of the best. At once, Zhou Li's breathing quickened. He carefully examined the Grade 1 spirit sword in his hand. The best of the best. After a while, Zhou Li gently caressed the body of the Grade 1 spirit sword in his hand. Judging from the intoxicated look on his face, it was as though he was caressing his lover instead of a cold object. Perhaps, compared to an ordinary Grade 1 spirit weapon, this Grade 1 spirit weapon could not increase one's strength by much. It was not a big deal. However, the value of this Grade 1 spirit weapon did not lie in its ability to increase a martial artist's strength. A Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90% was rare in the world. In the eyes of those Grade 1 weapon craftsmen, it was undoubtedly a peerless treasure. If one used this Grade 1 spirit weapon to tempt a Grade 1 weapon craftsman, they would definitely agree to refine hundreds of Grade 1 spirit weapons for them. A Grade 1 spirit weapon like this was a treasure to any Grade 1 weapon craftsman. Perhaps he could learn the refining method of this Grade 1 spirit weapon and refine a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90%. Then, he would become famous on Cloud Continent and go down in history. A Grade 1 weapon craftsman basically did not lack anything. What they lacked was the testimony of history, the testimony of their existence. Even if hundreds or thousands of years later, everyone would forget about them, they would still remember their glory for hundreds or thousands of years. In that case, they would not have wasted their time in this world. Vice Manager Zhou Li, right? Is my Grade 1 spirit sword qualified to be auctioned at the Zhou clan's auction fair now? Duan Lingtian asked as he glanced at Zhou Li nonchalantly. Of course. Zhou Li nodded without hesitation. Then, his eyes lit up as he looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, Sir, you have another Grade 1 life recovery pill that you want to auction? Can you take it out for me to appraise? After seeing the Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90%, Zhou Li was very curious about the Grade 1 life recovery pill that the person in front of him brought. He had a strong intuition. The Grade 1 life recovery pill should be similar to the Grade 1 spirit sword in his hand. It was not an ordinary item, and it was not something an ordinary Grade 1 life recovery pill could compare to. Duan Lingtian shook his head after studying Zhou Li for a while. It's better to get an alchemist to appraise it. Sir, Vice Manager Zhou Li is an alchemist. At this moment, the lady next to Zhou Li said. For a moment, A proud smile appeared on Zhou Li's face. However, his smile froze soon after because of what Duan Lingtian said next. "You're an alchemist? What grade are you?" Duan Lingtian studied Zhou Li from head to toe before he said with a frown, "You'll need at least a grade 2 alchemist to be able to see through the purity of a grade 1 pill, sir. I'm a grade 3 alchemist. Although I can't completely see through the purity of a grade 1 pill, I can still tell." Zhou Li took a deep breath before he replied. "Grade 3 alchemist?" Duan Lingtian's frown deepened. Soon after, he relaxed and said nonchalantly, "Forget it. I'll just make do with it." "Forget it? Make do with it?" The corner of Zhou Li's mouth twitched violently. He suppressed the anger in his heart and forced a smile on his face. "In that case, please take out the pill for me to appraise." Whoosh! Duan Lingtian raised his hand and handed the grade 1 life recovery pill that he had prepared earlier to Zhou Li. Zhou Li took the grade 1 life recovery pill and studied it intently. His gaze went from confusion to astonishment and then to shock. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. A grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90%. Finally, Zhou Li exclaimed in a low voice. The lady standing next to Zhou Li was shocked as well. A grade 1 pill with a purity of more than 90%? Did such a grade 1 pill really exist? If a grade 1 spirit weapon that could provide a 90% boost to a martial artist was not any less powerful than an ordinary grade 1 spirit weapon, its value lay more in the desire of a grade 1 weapon craftsman for it. However, a grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90% was not only as valuable as a grade 1 life recovery pill, but its medicinal effect was also several times better than an ordinary grade 1 life recovery pill. Such a grade 1 life recovery pill could save a life at a critical moment. It could do things that an ordinary grade 1 life recovery pill could not. In terms of value, this grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of more than 90% was far more valuable than the grade 1 spirit sword with a boost of 90%. Dear customer, where did you get this grade 1 life recovery pill? Do you have more? Chapter 1168. Although the greed in Zhou Li's eyes only flashed for a moment, it did not escape the observant Duan Lingtian's eyes. "There's nothing else." Duan Lingtian shook his head in the face of Zhou Li's question. "I found these 2 items in a ruin. At that time, I searched everywhere, but I couldn't find the 3rd item." "You mean, you only have one of these spirit tools and one of these pills?" Zhou Li asked as he weighed the grade 1 spirit sword and grade 1 life recovery pill in his hand. He looked deeply at Duan Lingtian and asked. "Yes." Duan Lingtian nodded faintly, giving off a dull feeling. However, there was a subtle sneer on the corner of his mouth. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, an ancient bronze mirror appeared in Zhou Li's hand. He aimed the mirror at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. Demon revealing mirror. With just one look, Duan Lingtian could tell that the bronze mirror in Zhou Li's hand was not an ordinary mirror. It was a mirror that could reflect a demon's true form. Soon after, Zhou Li's gaze landed on the bronze mirror. A bright smile appeared on his face when he saw a man and a woman reflected in the mirror. They're not demons. He was certain of this at the first moment. The young man and young woman in front of him were not demons but humans. One was around 25 years old while the other was in her early 20s. Even if such humans had high innate talent and comprehension, they could not be that strong. Vice Manager Zhou Li. Just as Zhou Li put away the demon-revealing mirror, Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes. His voice was much colder. "Don't you know that it's very impolite to randomly point the demon-revealing mirror at people? On Cloud Continent, the demon-revealing mirror was not considered a rare item. However, it had a shocking effect. Once the demon-revealing mirror was used, it could reflect whether a human was a demon or not. If a demon transformed into a human, once it was reflected in the demon-revealing mirror, its true form would appear instead of its human form. It was precisely because of this that very few people on Cloud Continent would abruptly use the demon-revealing mirror on others because it was very impolite." Manners? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Zhou Li was stunned at first, then he couldn't help but sneer. "Do I need to be polite to liars like you?" "Liar." Hearing Zhou Li's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed into slits. As for Feng Tianwu, who was standing beside Duan Lingtian. It was as if a layer of frost had covered her peerless face. Now, she was even colder, revealing traces of a dense chill. Just as the woman beside Zhou couldn't help but be stunned, Zhou raised his hand and put away the Grade 1 Spirit Sword and Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill into his storage ring. If you don't want to die, both of you, scram as far as you can. Zhou shouted coldly with killing intent in his eyes as he looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. It was obvious that Zhou was going to openly snatch Duan Lingtian's Grade 1 Spirit Weapon and Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill away. He had taken out the demon-revealing mirror to shine on Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu because he wanted to confirm whether they were demons or not. Since they were not, they were no threat to him at all. He could openly steal the items that they were going to auction. After he finished speaking, Zhou no longer bothered with Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. He looked deeply at the woman beside him and said indifferently, "Follow me in." The woman's face turned slightly pale when she heard this, but she still obediently followed Zhou into the auctions backstage. "I want him dead." Feng Tianwu's voice was cold. She took a step forward and was ready to chase after him. "You're no match for him." Duan Lingtian reached out and grabbed Feng Tianwu's hand in time to stop her. "It's not easy for me, Duan Lingtian, to return his things after taking them." When Feng Tianwu turned around to look at Duan Lingtian's eyes gleamed brightly as he muttered to himself. His tone was cold. Whoosh. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian took the lead and entered the auctions backstage. Feng Tianwu followed behind him. At once, both of them became the center of attention at the auctions backstage. Since they were outsiders, they were strangers to the people at the Zhou clan's auction square. "Who are you people?" Many people frowned and asked. "Who are we people?" Duan Lingtian smirked. His eyes immediately landed on Zhou, who was standing at the side. He said calmly, "You should ask Vice Manager Zhou about this." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At once, Zhou became the center of attention. "Zhou, what's going on?" Soon after, a dignified old man in a silver robe stepped forward and looked at Zhou. He frowned and asked in displeasure, "Manager." Zhou did not dare to be negligent in front of the silver-robed old man. He greeted him respectfully. The silver-robed old man was the manager of the Zhou clan's auction square. After greeting the silver-robed old man, Zhou looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu calmly and said, "They're just two liars. I'll get rid of them immediately." He did not seem surprised that Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu would appear here. "I wanted to let both of you go. Since both of you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." At the same time, Zhou's eyes turned cold as he spoke slowly. His voice was filled with killing intent. "Hurry up and settle this matter. The auction will begin in half an hour. Don't create unnecessary trouble." "Don't cause any unnecessary trouble," the silver-robed old man said as he looked at Zhou indifferently. "Yes." Zhou quickly responded. At the same time, he looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu again. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "If the Zhou clan doesn't hand over my things today and give me a satisfactory answer, the Zhou clan's auction square can forget about holding the auction today." Duan Lingtian's face was calm in the face of Zhou, who was glaring at him covetously. However, his voice was extremely loud. Whoosh! The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. The Zhou clan's people backstage, including the manager of the Zhou clan's auction square, the silver-robed old man, had a change of expression. They looked at Duan Lingtian fiercely. Threat. It was a blatant threat. This purple-clad young man was threatening their Zhou clan's auction square, threatening their Zhou clan. "Boy, you're seeking death." Zhou's face darkened, and the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. He moved and was prepared to attack Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! However, a figure appeared out of thin air in front of Duan Lingtian and blocked his path, causing him to stop in his tracks. "Manager, what are you doing?" The person standing in front of Duan Lingtian was a silver figure. It was the manager of the Zhou clan's auction square, the silver-robed old man. He looked at Duan Lingtian and asked in a deep voice, "Are you threatening our Zhou clan?" "You can interpret it that way." Duan Lingtian replied casually to the silver-robed old man's question. It was as though he was not worried about what the Zhou clan would do to him. "You're very bold," the silver-robed old man said. "I wouldn't dare to say that I'm bold. However, I feel that I'm in the right. I think the Zhou clan should be a fair clan. I don't think they'll cover up for some vermin." Duan Lingtian looked at Zhou Li as he spoke. "What nonsense are you talking about?" When Zhou Li saw Duan Lingtian looking at him, a hint of panic flashed across his eyes. He was furious. "You're in the right for deceiving our Zhou clan's auction square?" Zhou Li looked at the silver-robed old man after he finished speaking. "Manager, you should go and prepare for the auction. Let me handle this small matter. I'll make them disappear immediately." When Zhou Li reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu as though he was looking at two dead people. "There's no rush. I just want to know what's going on." The silver-robed old man looked at Zhou Li and asked. When Zhou Li heard this, he immediately looked at a lady nearby. It was the lady who brought Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu over. "You, come here. Tell the manager what's going on." When the lady heard Zhou Li calling her over, her expression changed slightly. However, she quickly clenched her teeth and calmed down before she walked toward Zhou Li. The silver-robed old man frowned in confusion. "Manager, she's the one who brought them over. It's better for you to listen to her about the details," Zhou Li explained. The silver-robed old man nodded faintly. At the same time, he looked at the lady who was standing in front of him. "Speak." "Yes, Sir Manager." The lady was obviously a little restrained when she faced the old man. After she acknowledged his order, she said slowly, "Sir Manager, these two guests said they wanted to auction off 2 items. Then, I told them that unless they had something that was qualified to be the finale, they're not allowed to enter the backstage of our Zhou clan's auction square at this time." When the lady reached this part of her sentence, she looked at the man and woman who were looking at her coldly. There was a hint of guilt and helplessness in the depth of her eyes. "Dear guests, I'm sorry. I really have no other choice. Deputy Manager Zhou Li said that if I don't do as he says, not only will he kill me, but he'll kill my family as well." At the same time, the lady sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu's ears. At once, Feng Tianwu's face darkened. The killing intent in her eyes intensified when she looked at Zhou Li. Although Duan Lingtian maintained a calm expression on his face, there was a hint of coldness in the depths of his eyes. Not only did he covet his items, but he even used such a despicable method to threaten a weak lady. In his heart, he had already sentenced Zhou Li to death. If Zhou Li did not die, he would not be able to vent his anger. These two guests said that the items they wanted to auction off were treasures that were qualified to be the finale. Therefore, I brought them to the auction area and looked for Deputy Manager Zhou Li to appraise them. The lady continued to speak. When Deputy Manager Zhou Li met them and asked them to take out their items for him to appraise, they hesitated for a long time and did not take out anything in the end. Chapter 1169. As soon as the woman finished speaking, it caused a commotion at the backstage of the Zhou clan's auction fair. Deceiving the Zhou clan's auction fair is the same as deceiving the Zhou clan. Vice Manager Zhou Li has already done his best to ask you to scram. How dare you accuse him of taking your things? You deserve to die. This is the first time in my life that I've heard of such a shameless person. The Zhou clan members were filled with righteous indignation as they glared at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. Their words were not polite at all. The silver-robed old man, the manager of the Zhou clan's auction fair, had a gloomy expression on his face after he heard the woman's words. He looked at Duan Lingtian and asked in a deep voice, "Do you have anything else to say?" "Regardless of whether I have anything else to say. Now, if I were to say something, would you believe me?" Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the silver-robed old man indifferently. From the beginning until the end, his expression remained calm as if he did not realize the impending danger. Or perhaps he was not afraid of the impending danger at all. "Manager, why are you wasting your breath on him? Let's get rid of them. We should start preparing for the auction," Zhou Li said. "Don't you all agree?" Then, Zhou Li looked at the rest of the people backstage. "Yes, kill them." They slandered Manager Zhou Li and looked down on the Zhou clan. "They deserve to die." "That's right. They deserve to die." Zhou Li's words were like a fuse that completely ignited the atmosphere backstage. Each of the Zhou clan members wanted to skin Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu alive and swallow them whole. It was only when the silver-robed old man raised his hand that the backstage quietened down. I would like to hear what you have to say. The old man looked at Duan Lingtian and spoke unhurriedly. Manager, there's no need to waste time on such liars. Zhou Li frowned when he heard the old man's words. His eyes were filled with viciousness. I think we should just kill him. As he spoke, Zhou Li took a step forward and stood next to the old man. He was about to attack Duan Lingtian. However, he was stopped by the old man. What? Vice Manager Zhou Li, are you feeling guilty? Duan Lingtian looked at Zhou Li with a smile, which made Zhou Li's hair stand on end. Zhou Li's face darkened, but he still snorted and said, What am I guilty of? Could it be that I, Zhou Li, can really take your things? It's not up to you to decide whether or not you took my things. The smile on Duan Lingtian's face did not change. Naturally, it's not up to me to decide. Didn't you hear what the people who brought you here said? You are all liars. You are here to cause trouble for our Zhou clan's auction house. Zhou Li sneered. Really? Duan Lingtian gave Zhou Li a deep look. Then, he raised his hand, revealing a sword and a pill. Didn't you ask me if I had any other spirit tools and pills? I'm sorry. I forgot that I still have them in my spatial ring. Zhou Li's expression changed when he saw Duan Lingtian taking out the spirit sword and pills. However, his eyes narrowed when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. You're the manager of the Zhou clan's auction house, right? Duan Lingtian looked at the silver-robed old man and casually passed the sword and medicinal pill in his hand to him. Earlier, your subordinate, Zhou Li, took one of my grade 1 spirit swords and grade 1 life recovery pills for himself. What a joke. Before the old man could say anything, Zhou Li sneered. Do you think our Zhou clan lacks a mere grade 1 spirit sword and grade 1 life recovery pill? Why would we need to take yours for ourselves? I don't know if the Zhou clan lacks them or not. However, I think you do. Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly. You're seeking death. Zhou Li could no longer hold himself back when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He was completely enraged. When the old man reached out to take the grade 1 spirit sword and grade 1 life recovery pill from Duan Lingtian, the origin energy on Zhou Li's body skyrocketed. His profundity followed like a shadow as he shot toward Duan Lingtian like a cannonball. Zhou Li, the silver-robed old man who had just taken the spirit sword and pills, did not expect Zhou Li would ignore his advice and attack Duan Lingtian. His expression changed drastically, and he felt his dignity was being challenged. However, it was too late for him to save the purple-clothed young man now. Zhou Li's attack was too sudden. It was so sudden that he did not even have time to react. Boom. Soon after, a loud explosion reverberated in the air. Everyone in the Zhou clan thought the purple-clad young man had been killed by Zhou Li. However, as the sound of the explosion reverberated in the air and a gust of wind blew, they were stunned when they saw the scene before them. Heavens! What did they just see? The purple-clad young man was standing there, unharmed. On the other hand, Zhou Li was curled up on the ground and rolling on the ground. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. You destroyed my Dantian. You're so cruel. You're so cruel. Zhou Li screamed hysterically as he held his lower abdomen in pain and rolled on the ground. He pointed a trembling finger at Duan Lingtian and shouted hysterically. Silence. The scene was dead silent. Everyone in the Zhou clan who was present knew Zhou Li very well. Zhou Li was an elder in their Zhou clan. He was only in his 50s, but he was already at the 4th level martial monarch stage. His strength was shocking. However, today, such a person had his Dantian destroyed in front of a young man who looked like he was only in his 20s. Don't you think you've gone overboard? The silver-robed old man, the supervisor of the Zhou clan's auction square, stared coldly at Duan Lingtian. Overboard? Duan Lingtian smiled. He stole my grade 1 spirit weapon and grade 1 medicinal pills, and he even wanted to kill me. Now, I've only destroyed his cultivation base. Do you think I've gone overboard? The matter hasn't been settled yet. The silver-robed old man looked at Duan Lingtian fearfully and said in a deep voice, I've worked with Jolie for many years, so I know him quite well. It's impossible for a mere Grade 1 spirit weapon and Grade 1 life recovery pill to arouse his greed. That's right. I think so too. Many people from the Zhou clan nodded in agreement. They glared at Duan Lingtian angrily, but none of them dared to make a move. Similar to the silver-robed old man, they were shocked by the strength that Duan Lingtian had displayed earlier. Zhou Li's Dantian was destroyed in just one blow. Even the silver-robed old man, the supervisor of the Zhou clan's auction square, was afraid of Duan Lingtian's strength. Supervisor Zhou Ji, kill him. Avenge me. Avenge me. Zhou Li, who was in so much pain that he was almost numb, finally stopped rolling on the ground. He looked at the silver-robed old man with cold sweat on his forehead as he urged in a shrill voice. The silver-robed old man was the supervisor of the Zhou clan's auction square. His name was Zhou Ji. If it's just an ordinary Grade 1 spirit weapon and Grade 1 life recovery pill, naturally, he wouldn't be so greedy. However, do you think my Grade 1 spirit weapon and Grade 1 life recovery pill that are qualified to be the finale of your auction are ordinary? Duan Lingtian said calmly. His expression remained unchanged in the face of Zhou Ji's doubts. Horror dawned on Zhou Li's face when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Fear could be seen in his eyes. Everyone from the Zhou clan, including Zhou Ji, had their eyes on the Grade 1 spirit sword and Grade 1 life recovery pill in Zhou Ji's hand. Isn't it just a Grade 1 spirit weapon and Grade 1 life recovery pill? What's the difference? Many people were skeptical. Whoosh! When Zhou Ji raised his hand, pure origin energy surged into the Grade 1 spirit sword in his hand. At once, a clear and melodious sword chime resonated in the air. One could tell it was a good sword just by listening to the sword chime. Whoosh! Soon after, an ancient black dragon's silhouette appeared above Zhou Ji's head. It was as though it was telling everyone that his cultivation base was at the 7th level martial monarch stage. Soon after, an ancient black dragon's silhouette appeared, and the heaven and earth phenomenon appeared again. A total of 9,000 ancient horned dragon silhouettes appeared before everyone's eyes in just a blink of an eye. A 90% boost. While most of the people were still studying the group of ancient horned dragon silhouettes and trying to figure out how many of them there were, Zhou Ji finally regained his senses and cried out in surprise. A 90% boost? The entire place was in an uproar. They had never seen or heard of a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could provide a 90% boost before. However, it had appeared before their eyes today. Lord Manager, can this Grade 1 spirit sword really amplify my strength by 90%? Many people swallowed their saliva and asked with difficulty, What? Are all of you doubting my words? Zhou Ji glared at these people before he looked at Duan Lingtian in shock. He asked in a daze, May I ask who made this Grade 1 spirit sword? This was casually refined by a Grade 1 weapons craftsman in my sect. What do you think? Can it be the finale of the auction that your Zhou clan's auction square is holding today? Duan Lingtian asked bluntly after he finished speaking. Of course. Zhou Ji nodded immediately. Then, his eyes landed on the Grade 1 life recovery pill in his hand. Zhouan, you're a Grade 2 alchemist. Take a look at this Grade 1 life recovery pill. While the crowd was still in shock over the Grade 1 spirit sword in Zhou Ji's hand, Zhou Ji looked at a white-haired old man and casually tossed the Grade 1 life recovery pill in his hand to him. After the old man called Zhou and received the Grade 1 life recovery pill, he began to examine it carefully. His body began to tremble violently with just a glance. What's wrong with Elder Zhouan? Don't tell me there's something special about the Grade 1 life recovery pill? It must be. With the Grade 1 spirit sword as an example, the Zhou clan members present on the scene no longer dared to underestimate the Grade 1 life recovery pill that was also in the hands of the purple-clad young man. The purity is 91%. This is a Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91%. Zhouan exclaimed excitedly when he regained his senses after a while. His body stopped trembling. The moment Zhouan's words left his mouth, the entire place fell silent again. A Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91%? Heavens! Chapter 1170. Trying to escape? While the Zhou clan's people backstage were still shocked by the Grade 1 life recovery pill with 91% purity, a calm voice resonated in the air and attracted everyone's attention. Duan Lingtian raised his hand and used an invisible force to grab Zhou, who was trying to escape from the backstage of the auction house. Duan Lingtian's hand was in a chokehold. Zhou seemed to be choked by the invisible force as well. His face was red as he hovered in the air. His eyes were wide open, and he could not make a sound for a long time. "Sir, please have mercy." Zhou Ji looked at Duan Lingtian and hurriedly said, "Have mercy?" Duan Lingtian glanced at Zhou Ji indifferently and asked, "Do you think that's possible?" "Sir, Zhou Li is the only son of our Zhou clan's Grand Elder. It won't do you any good if you kill him." Zhou Ji decided to use force when he saw that the soft approach did not work. Then, as though he was afraid Duan Lingtian did not know how powerful their Zhou clan's Grand Elder was, he continued to say, "Our Zhou clan's Grand Elder is one of the top powerhouses in our Zhou clan. He's at the 8th level martial monarch stage. Although I'm a 7th level martial monarch stage martial artist, I'll definitely die if I go up against our Zhou clan's Grand Elder." Zhou Ji continued to exaggerate how powerful the Zhou clan's Grand Elder was. Zhou clan's Grand Elder? 8th level martial monarch stage? However, Duan Lingtian did not buy Zhou Ji's words at all. After glancing at Zhou Ji indifferently, he suddenly withdrew his hand that was in a chokehold. Crack! The crisp sound of bones breaking resonated in the air. It was not loud, but it shocked everyone apart from Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. Horror dawned on everyone in the Zhou clan, including Zhou Ji. Boom! Zhou Ji, whose neck was crushed by Duan Lingtian, fell to the ground. The profundity fragment in his body had become Duan Lingtian's possession. His spatial ring was also in Duan Lingtian's hands. You! Zhou Ji looked at Duan Lingtian and was speechless for a long time. He was completely shocked by Duan Lingtian's actions. He dared to kill the only son of the great elder of the Zhou clan. As far as he was concerned, this young man was finished, completely finished. Most of the Zhou family members had the same idea as Zhou Ji. However, a small portion of the Zhou clan did not think so. From the moment he entered the backstage of our auction house, his expression remained calm. He never showed any signs of panic. At first, I thought he was doing it on purpose. Only now did I realize that he didn't take us seriously at all. Even now, when he killed Zhou Li, the only son of our Zhou clan's great elder, his face did not reveal the slightest trace of fear. It seems that he is not afraid of the great elder. Not afraid of the Grand Elder? Then how strong is his background? Earlier, he said that the Grade 1 spirit weapon with a 90% amplification was refined by a Grade 1 weapons craftsman from his sect. A sect with such a Grade 1 weapons craftsman must not be an ordinary sect. Perhaps he's a disciple from a first-rate sect in the central area of the Inner Land. A small portion of the Zhou clan members whispered among themselves. The Inner Land could be considered as the central area of the Cloud Continent. There were many powerhouses there. The central area of the Inner Land, on the other hand, was the core of the Cloud Continent. There were even more powerhouses there. Upon hearing the whispers of the Zhou clan members, most of the Zhou clan members, including Zhou Ji, felt that they made sense. Their expressions turned solemn in unison. That was right. It was impossible for a Grade 1 weapons craftsman who could refine a Grade 1 spirit weapon with a 90% amplification to join an ordinary sect. Although their Zhou clan was also a first-rate force, it could only be ranked at the bottom among all the first-rate forces in the Inner Land. It was at the bottom of the first-rate forces on the Cloud Continent. The closer it was to the central area of the Inner Land, the stronger the first-rate forces there were. "May I know which sect you're from, sir?" Zhou Ji asked as he looked at Duan Lingtian after taking a deep breath. "It won't take long for you to find out which sect I'm from. Now, take my things out of Zhou Li's spatial ring so that your Zhou clan members won't say that I'm framing him." Duan Lingtian replied nonchalantly in the face of Zhou Ji's question. He raised his hand and tossed Zhou Li's spatial ring to Zhou Ji. Zhou Ji glanced at Duan Lingtian with a complicated gaze before performing the blood ownership claim on Zhou Li's spatial ring. Soon after, he took out a spirit sword and a medicinal pill from it. Whoosh! Although they were mentally prepared, The Zhou clan members who were present were in an uproar when they saw Zhou Ji taking out the stolen goods from Zhou Li's spatial ring. At the same time, they looked at Zhou Li's corpse in disdain. What a disgrace to our Zhou clan. He's even the Grand Elder's son. He's a disgrace to the Zhou clan. Although Zhou Li was already a corpse, many people still mocked him. Put the sword and medicinal pill back. Remove the blood ownership claim on the spatial ring and return it to me. As for the sword and medicinal pill from before, if your Zhou clan's auction fair is willing to auction them for me, I'll hand them over to you. If you're not willing, I'll take them and leave. Duan Lingtian looked at Zhou Ji and said nonchalantly, "Of course we're willing." Zhou Ji replied without any hesitation. Not only that, the Zhou clan's auction fair will auction these two items for free. As he spoke, Zhou Ji placed the sword and medicinal pill back into the spatial ring left behind by Zhou Li. Then, he removed the blood ownership claim on the spatial ring and returned it to Duan Lingtian. "If that's the case, thank you, Manager Zhou Ji," Duan Lingtian said as he looked at Zhou Ji deeply. "You're welcome." Faced with this young man who was not afraid of their Zhou clan's Grand Elder, Zhou Ji did not dare to be negligent before he knew his background. He was deeply afraid that he would offend someone he could not afford to offend. "Also, how do you want to deal with her?" Zhou Ji asked Duan Lingtian as he looked at the woman who was standing at the side and trembling in fear. Thump. The moment Zhou Ji's words left his mouth, the woman knelt in front of Duan Lingtian and kowtowed loudly. "Customer, I know I'm in the wrong. It's only right for you to take my life. However, I hope that after I die, you'll be merciful and let my family go." The woman kowtowed and begged for mercy. However, she was not begging for mercy for herself. Instead, she was begging for mercy for her family. She was deeply afraid that Duan Lingtian would vent his anger on her family. "Since you explained the reason to me using your voice transmission earlier, I won't make a fuss about it with you," Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly. "Thank you, customer. Thank you." The woman hurriedly thanked him. "Since the customer won't make a fuss about it, why aren't you getting up? The auction is about to begin. Why aren't you bringing the customer to the VIP area? You better serve the customer well. Otherwise, don't ever come here again." Zhou Ji frowned when he saw the woman was still kneeling on the ground. Yes. The woman regained her senses when she heard Zhou Ji's words. She hurriedly stood up and looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. "Customer, please follow me." She led the way while Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu followed closely behind. After Duan Lingtian left, the backstage of the Zhou clan's auction fair fell into a dead silence again. "You, bring Zhou Li's body back to the clan. Also, inform the clan leader of what happened today. Tell him not to alarm the Grand Elder who's in closed-door cultivation, and not to make a move before he finds out the background of the purple-clad young man." Zhou Ji looked at one of the Zhou clan's disciples and said with a fearful expression, "I have a feeling he's not as simple as he seems." Yes. The Zhou clan's disciples responded respectfully when they heard Zhou Ji's words. They carried Zhou Li's body and left. "Everyone, make your preparations. The auction is about to begin," Zhou Ji said to the others. Yes. Everyone responded one after another. On the other side, under the woman's lead, Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu successfully arrived at the area closest to the auction stage. It was also the so-called VIP area. There were many individual pavilions here as well. Some of the pavilions only had one person while others had groups of 3 to 5 people chatting happily. It was obvious they had come together. "There's someone wearing a mask?" Soon after, Duan Lingtian discovered there were many people in the VIP area who were wearing masks. It was as though they were afraid of being recognized. Duan Lingtian could vaguely guess what they were thinking. They were worried that if they bid for something in the auction, it would attract the attention of others. If they wore a mask, nobody would know they were the ones who bid for the item. At that time, they could take off their masks and leave as though nothing had happened. "Customer, please." The woman led Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu into an empty pavilion. There was a stone table and stone stools in the pavilion. There were fine wines, delicacies, and fresh fruits on the stone table. After Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu sat down, the woman stood guard in front of the pavilion and said to Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu, "Customer, if you need anything, you can call me at any time." After she finished speaking, the woman stood guard in front of the pavilion. There were many pavilions in the VIP area. However, only the pavilion where Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu were standing guard was guarded by people from the Zhou clan's auction fair. For a time, this pavilion that stood out like a crane among chickens attracted the attention of many people. Who's so arrogant? He even has someone to serve him. Many people were curious. A young man dressed in brocade clothes sat in a pavilion not far away from Duan Lingtian's pavilion. Behind the young man, an old man stood there like a shadow. I'd like to see who can make the Zhou clan treat him like this. Even I, the young master, am not served. The young man in brocade clothes heard the surrounding voices and saw the woman standing in front of the pavilion not far away. His face turned slightly gloomy. Then, he stood up and led the old man to the pavilion. Customer, this place is taken. Just as the young man in brocade clothes was about to break into Duan Lingtian's pavilion with the old man, the woman standing at the side stopped them and said with a smile, "Please find another place. Get lost." The young man in brocade clothes was furious when he saw the woman blocking his way. He raised his hand and struck out like lightning. Boom! Chapter 1171. The loud noise when the woman was killed instantly alarmed Duan Lingtian. Before Duan Lingtian could make a move, a layer of invisible light rose up and blocked the blood that splattered on him and Tian Wu. In the next instant, Duan Lingtian looked at the culprit who was slowly walking into the pergola. His face gradually turned grave. What a beautiful woman! The young man in embroidered clothes brought the old man in. His eyes immediately landed on Feng Tianwu. As for Duan Lingtian, he completely ignored him. Feng Tianwu's peerless appearance entered his eyes, and it caused his breathing to become hurried. When had he ever seen such a beauty? "Miss, my name is Wu Jie. I'm the son of the sect leader of True Martial Sect. May I know your name, miss?" The young man in embroidered clothes walked up to Feng Tianwu. A warm and brilliant smile bloomed on his handsome face. However, there was only lust and desire in the depth of his eyes. He desired this woman who was almost perfect in front of him. Scram. When Wu Jie greeted Feng Tianwu politely, Feng Tianwu only replied with a single word. Wu Jie was dumbstruck. Ever since Wu Jie killed the woman outside the pergola, the commotion here had alarmed many people and attracted many people's attention. Due to this reason, the scene of Wu Jie failing to strike up a conversation with Feng Tianwu and being rebuked by Feng Tianwu was also witnessed by a group of people. The son of the sect leader of True Martial Sect? Many people did not dare to say anything after learning of Wu Jie's identity. However, their eyes were filled with mockery when they looked at Wu Jie. The True Martial Sect was a first-rate force that was on par with the Zhou clan in Ataraxia City and the Yin-Yang sect in the past. I said I'm the son of the sect leader of True Martial Sect. The young sect leader of True Martial Sect. Wu Jie felt extremely humiliated when he sensed the mocking gazes from the surroundings. He tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and looked at Feng Tianwu again as he repeated himself. Scram. However, this time, Feng Tianwu's reply was still the same. Get lost. Wu Jie's body trembled, and his expression gradually turned ferocious. When had he ever been disregarded in public like this? Such disregard was no different from humiliation. Whoosh! The group of people who were watching the show were also in an uproar. While they looked at Wu Jie mockingly, they also looked at Feng Tianwu in surprise. They did not expect this woman to be so bold as to treat the son of the True Martial Sect's sect master in such a manner. It should be known that although the True Martial Sect's sect leader had two sons, the one he doted on the most was undoubtedly his youngest son, whom he had gotten in his later years. He practically viewed him as his lifeblood. Bitch, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Finally, Wu Jie could no longer suppress the anger in his heart and completely exploded. He took a step forward and stretched out his hands to grab Feng Tianwu. Aren't you arrogant? From today onwards, this young master will make you my slave. Wu Jie was the son of the sect leader of the True Martial Sect. He was in his early 30s, and his cultivation base was at the peak of the void. However, in front of Feng Tianwu, he was no different from an ant. Whoosh! Young master! The short-lived sound of a sword whistling accompanied by a loud shout reverberated in the air. As it turned out, Feng Tianwu had casually killed Wu Jie, who was charging at her menacingly, with just a swing of her sword. The person who shouted at the same time was the old man behind Wu Jie. It did not cross the old man's mind that this seemingly harmless red-clad woman would be able to kill his young master before he could even react. His young master was dead. How was he going to explain this to the sect leader when he returned? The surroundings fell into a dead silence. Many pairs of eyes were slightly stunned as they looked at Wu Jie, who was lying in a pool of blood. She killed the youngest son of the sect leader of the true martial sect? She's in big trouble now. The true martial sect won't let her go. I can't believe she's only in her early 20s. But she actually has the strength to kill the youngest son of the sect leader of the true martial sect. Although they didn't mobilize the heaven and earth energy to form the heaven and earth phenomenon, I heard that the cultivation base of the youngest son of the sect leader of the true martial sect seems to be at the peak of the void. She killed him in just one blow. She must be a martial monarch powerhouse. The onlookers discussed animatedly as they stared at the peerlessly beautiful woman in front of them in shock. It was said that women were a source of calamity. Today, they finally witnessed it for themselves. If it was not for the fact that the son of the sect leader of the true martial sect harbored evil thoughts toward this woman, he would not have ended up in such a state. However, they were unaware of this fact. When the son of the sect leader of the true martial sect killed the woman who was guarding outside the pavilion, he had already been sentenced to death by the purple-clad young man next to the woman. "You! How dare you kill my young master? Do you know who he is?" When the old man saw Wu Jie lying on the ground, he was so enraged that his body began to tremble. He glared at Feng Tianwu as though he still had not recovered from the shock earlier. "Does it have anything to do with me who he is?" Feng Tianwu lifted her head and glanced at the old man indifferently before she said something that almost made the old man spit out blood. This woman had killed his young master first. Then, she asked if it had anything to do with her who his young master was. "You're seeking death." The old man could no longer hold it in. With a loud shout, the origin energy on his body skyrocketed. In just a blink of an eye, it transformed into thunder and lightning that twined around his body, making him look like the god of thunder. Not only that, but there were also wisps of green wind twining around the thunder and lightning. Apart from the wind, there were also wisps of solidified flames that were dancing around. The old man moved and charged out. Wherever he passed, the sound of air exploding rose and fell. Invisible airwaves rolled and turned into a violent wind that blew in all directions. Whoosh! Soon after, a sword appeared in the old man's hand out of thin air. The sword swung from the west, as though it had the help of the gods, as it headed straight for Feng Tianwu. The strength that the old man displayed was not only above Wu Jie, but it was also far above Feng Tianwu. However, Feng Tianwu's expression remained unchanged in the face of the old man who was charging at her like a storm. She had no intention of making a move as well. Is she crazy? Looks like she's determined to die. Many of the spectators thought to themselves when they saw the scene before their eyes. Just when everyone thought that Feng Tianwu was going to die, a scene that was out of everyone's expectations appeared. All of them widened their eyes until their pupils were round. Heavens! What did they just see? The purple-clad young man who was sitting next to the red-clad lady, who had not made a move all this while, made his move like a thunderbolt when the old man's sword that contained the strength of 2 blue dragons and a few thousand horned dragons was charging at the red-clad lady. Whoosh! With just a finger, he blocked the old man's sword that he had attacked with all his might. The finger and sword collided, and they were in a stalemate for the time being. With the collision as the center, waves of rolling airwaves spread out. In just a blink of an eye, it transformed into a violent wind that caused the robes of the spectators to flutter. Some of the people with a lower cultivation base even squinted their eyes from the wind. However, their eyes never left the purple-clad young man in the distance. The purple-clad young man's strength made them feel inexplicably shocked. Smack! 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 At this moment, the old man's face turned red, and his body trembled slightly. With his feet as the center, tiny cracks began to appear. The cracks continued to spread like a giant spider web. Humph! Compared to the old man who was powerless, Duan Lingtian appeared to be calm and composed. However, he soon snorted coldly, and the finger that was on the tip of the old man's sword trembled. A vast amount of energy surged out from Duan Lingtian's finger and entered the spirit sword in the old man's hand as easily as crushing dry weeds before it entered the old man's body. Boom! In just an instant, the overbearing energy destroyed the old man's internal organs. It killed the old man in an invisible manner, causing him to fall to the ground with a dull look in his eyes. He was no longer breathing. Silence. The entire place was dead silent. True martial sect? Duan Lingtian glanced at the two corpses in front of him coldly. A hint of disdain appeared on the corner of his mouth. According to Luo Ping, the true martial sect was one of the sworn enemies of the original Yin-Yang sect. Tianwu, let's go over there. Duan Lingtian lifted his hand and took away the spatial rings, profundity fragments, and concept fragments from the two corpses. Then, he brought Feng Tianwu to an empty pavilion and sat down again. At the same time, many pairs of eyes followed them. Who's this purple-clad young man? He's so powerful. Judging from the heaven and earth phenomenon that he triggered, this old man from the true martial sect should be at least at the 5th or 6th level martial monarch stage. However, he was still killed by just a finger. He's too powerful. I'm guessing he's a powerful demon. It's impossible for a human martial artist to possess such powerful strength at such a young age. The group of people whispered among themselves. Apart from fear, there was only fear in their eyes when they looked at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu sat down in another pavilion again. The previous pavilion was soon cleaned up by the Zhou clan's auction fair staff. While they were cleaning up, a few of the staff's bodies were trembling slightly. They were cleaning up the body of the youngest son that the sect leader of the true martial sect doted on the most. Backstage of the Zhou clan's auction fair. Manager, those two are too good at causing trouble. First, they killed Zhou Li. Now, they even killed the youngest son of the sect leader of the true martial sect and an elder from the true martial sect. One of the Zhou clan's disciples looked at Zhou Ji and reported with a wry smile on his face. It seems like our Zhou clan's auction fair is destined to be chaotic today. Zhou Ji sighed. Manager, I've already done as you instructed. I've already sent the two bodies to the true martial sect's property in Ataraxia City. Soon after, someone came in and reported. Manager, it's about to begin. At this moment, someone reminded him. Everything's going according to plan. It must be a mess outside now. I'll go out and calm them down first. After Zhou Ji said that, he walked out of the backstage of the auction fair and went up to the open-air auction stage. As he stood on the auction stage, he could clearly see the pavilions in front of him and the guests sitting in the pavilions. These guests were here to participate in the large-scale auction that was being held by the Zhou clan's auction fair today. Everyone, I hereby announce, the large-scale auction that's held every 3 months at the Zhou clan's auction fair will now begin. Chapter 1172. As Zhou Ji announced the start of the auction, all the guests in the Zhou clan's auction square shifted their attention from Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu to the auction stage. Soon after, someone brought the first auction item up, attracting everyone's attention, including Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian only took a glance before he retracted his gaze. The first auction item was a bottle of grade 1 pills. Even though it was separated by the pill bottle, his spiritual energy could still easily probe the origin of the pills. It was a grade 1 pill with a purity of less than 70%. In Duan Lingtian's eyes, it was no different from trash. However, the trash in Duan Lingtian's eyes did not mean that other people would treat it as trash as well. In many people's eyes, it was a treasure that they would have to spend a lot of high-grade origin stones to obtain. I bid 20 high-grade origin stones, 30 high-grade origin stones, 50 high-grade origin stones. In the end, the bottle of grade 1 pills that Duan Lingtian regarded as trash was bought by someone at the high price of 120 high-grade origin stones. Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh. Such trash, not to mention 120 upper-grade primordial stones, Even if it was sold to him for one lower-grade primordial stone, he would not buy it. Pills were different from spirit weapons. Spirit weapons of lower quality could be reforged, but pills could not. The auction was in full swing. However, it was not calm in the Zhou clan's mansion in Ataraxia City. When a corpse was sent to the Zhou clan's mansion, the entire Zhou clan was in an uproar. All the Zhou clan's high-ranking officials who were in the Zhou clan's mansion and were not in closed-door cultivation gathered together. In the Zhou clan's main hall, an old man wearing a gold and green robe sat on the main seat. The old man looked extremely healthy. There was an awe-inspiring aura between his brows. This old man was the current clan leader of the Zhou clan in Ataraxia City, Zhou Zheng. There was a group of people gathered below him. There were old people and middle-aged people among them. They were the Zhou clan's elders. At this moment, they were surrounding a corpse that was lying on the ground. The corpse was not unfamiliar to them. Zhou Li, the son of the Zhou clan's grand elder. Patriarch, who did this? A middle-aged elder of the Zhou clan widened his eyes in disbelief as he looked at Zhou Zheng, who was sitting at the head of the table. He found it hard to imagine who would be so bold. He even dared to kill the only son of their Zhou clan's great elder. For a moment, all the elders of the Zhou clan also looked at Zhou Zheng curiously. The great elder of the Zhou clan was a famous expert in the area around Peaceful City. In their opinion, daring to kill the only son of their Zhou clan's great elder was tantamount to courting death. I'm not sure yet. Facing the curious gazes of the Zhou clan elders, Zhou Zheng shook his head. Not sure? Zhou Zheng's words caused the Zhou clan elders to be completely dumbfounded. Patriarch, what do you mean? Could it be that you don't even know who killed Zhou Li? An elder of the Zhou clan asked with a frown. If that's really the case, then wouldn't Great Elder want to avenge Zhou Li, but still be unable to find the murderer? If the Great Elder comes out of seclusion, he definitely won't be able to accept this. Before Zhou Zheng could open his mouth, the other elders of the Zhou clan had already started discussing. The murderer is currently in our Zhou clan's auction square. When Zhou Zheng opened his mouth, the entire place fell silent. A moment later, a Zhou clan elder was the first to react. His eyes flashed coldly as he said, Patriarch, the great elder has devoted his entire life to our Zhou clan. Now that he's in closed-door cultivation to make a breakthrough, and his only son has been killed, we should capture the murderer and wait for the great elder to come out of seclusion to deal with him. The other elders of the Zhou clan agreed with the suggestion of this Zhou clan elder. If this matter is so simple, do you think I'd ask all of you to come here? Zhou Zheng asked as he glanced at the Zhou clan elders indifferently. At once, the Zhou clan elders fell silent. Patriarch, is there any problem? Soon after, a sensitive Zhou clan elder asked. That's right. Zhou Zheng nodded and said, Zhou Li was killed in the backstage of our Zhou clan's auction square. When Zhou Li died, Zhou Ji was also present. Zhou Ji, the steward of the Zhou clan's auction square. At the same time, he was also a powerful Zhou clan elder. Come to think of it, if he was not powerful, how could he be the steward of the Zhou clan's auction square that was extremely important to the Zhou clan? Elder Zhou Ji was present? How could the murderer kill Zhou Li? Many of the grand elders of the Zhou clan gasped as their pupils constricted unconsciously. Zhou Ji was at the 7th level martial monarch stage. His strength could be ranked in the top 10 in the Zhou clan. According to Zhou Ji, even he didn't have time to react when the other party attacked. The other party's strength is in no way inferior to him. In fact, the other party is even stronger. Zhou Zheng said in a deep voice, In our Zhou clan, including the Patriarch and the Great Elder, there are 3 Supreme Elders who are stronger than Elder Zhou Ji. Wouldn't it be easy for them to deal with that person? Many Zhou clan elders said confidently, Of course, I know that. Zhou Zheng said, However, the person who killed Zhou Li must be someone special. Huh. The moment Zhou Zheng's words left his mouth, it attracted the attention of all the Zhou clan elders. Someone special? According to the clan disciple who brought Zhou Li's body back, the person who killed Zhou Li is a guest who came to our Zhou clan's auction square to auction. Zhou Zheng said slowly and paused for a moment. A guest? Since he's a guest, why would he kill Zhou Li? Don't tell me Zhou Li provoked him? The group of Zhou clan elders asked curiously. Today, Two guests came to our Zhou clan's auction square to auction. Facing the doubts of the Zhou clan's elders, Zhou Zheng told them the ins and outs of the matter that he knew. He told them everything, including the fact that the guest who killed Zhou Li had sent a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90% and a Grade 1 pill with a purity of more than 90%. Of course, he did not leave out the fact that Zhou Li was greedy and intended to take the items that the guest had sent to auction for himself. Whoosh! The Zhou clan's main hall was in an uproar when Zhou Zheng finished speaking. Many of the Zhou clan elders' faces became somewhat ugly, and even more people's faces and ears turned red, as if they were embarrassed because of something. How shameful! How shameful! This time, not only did Zhou Li disgrace himself, he even brought shame to our Zhou family. If that guest spreads the news, who would dare to send their items to our Zhou clan's auction square in the future? Although I respect the Grand Elder, regarding this matter, I can only say, Zhou Li deserved to die. That's right, he deserved to die. Many of the Zhou clan elders changed their target to Zhou Li after they understood what had happened. All of them were filled with righteous indignation. Silence. As Zhou Zheng shouted coldly, the Zhou clan's main hall regained its silence. Even if Zhou Li was in the wrong in this matter, he still paid with his life. Therefore, I don't want anyone to talk about him anymore. Zhou Zheng looked around and said in a deep voice. The group of Zhou clan elders fell silent immediately. Clan leader, you said that the guest said that the Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90% was refined by a Grade 1 weapons craftsman in his sect? One of the Zhou clan elders asked as he looked at Zhou Zheng. That's right. Zhou Zheng nodded. That's what the clan disciple that Zhou Ji sent back said. Moreover, Zhou Ji suspects that the Grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91% was refined by a Grade 1 alchemist in that person's sect. Whoosh! The moment Zhou Zheng's words left his mouth, it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. All of the Zhou clan elders' expressions changed drastically. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that his sect has two extraordinary weapons craftsmen and alchemists? Heavens! How powerful must such a sect be? Many of the Zhou clan elders exclaimed softly. For this reason, before we find out more about him, not only can we not offend him, but we can't allow the Grand Elder to look for trouble with him even if he comes out of closed-door cultivation. A hint of dread could be seen on Zhou Zheng's face when he reached the end of his sentence. The group of Zhou clan elders agreed with him. Clan leader, clan leader. At this moment, a panting voice resonated from outside. It was obvious that the person had just rushed back to the Zhou clan. Huh. Zhou Zheng raised his eyebrows and replied, Come in. A moment later, a Zhou clan disciple who looked like he was in a hurry entered the main hall. When he saw the group of Zhou clan elders present, he could not help but feel a little awkward. Why are you looking for me in such a hurry? Did something happen at the auction? Zhou Zheng asked when he recognized the person as the disciple in charge of the Zhou clan's auction. Auction? The moment Zhou Zheng spoke, all of the Zhou clan elders looked at him curiously. They were curious as to why he rushed back to the clan to look for the clan leader. Yes, the Zhou clan disciple who rushed back quickly nodded. Speak, Zhou Zheng said. Clan leader, the guest who killed Elder Zhou Li and the woman next to him killed the young sect leader of true martial sect and the person next to him at our Zhou clan's auction. The Zhou clan disciple finished his sentence in one breath. He had returned to report this. The moment the Zhou clan disciple's words left his mouth, the entire place fell silent. The young sect leader of true martial sect? Which young sect leader? Is it the young sect leader, Wu Jian, who's in charge of the true martial sect's business in our Ataraxia city? As the clan leader of Zhou clan and one of the top powerhouses in the Zhou clan, Zhou Jing immediately reacted and asked. Wu Jian was the eldest son of the sect leader of true martial sect. He usually stayed in Ataraxia city and took care of the true martial sect's business in Ataraxia city. He was also a powerful person who was not inferior to Zhou Ji, the manager of their Zhou clan's auction. No. The Zhou clan disciple shook his head and smiled wryly. It's Wu Jie. He's the youngest son of the sect leader of true martial sect. Manager Zhou Ji has already sent Wu Jie's body to the true martial sect's business in Ataraxia city. At this moment, Wu Jian must have seen his brother's body. The Zhou clan disciple continued. Wu Jie. Chapter 1173. Half of the properties in Ataraxia City belonged to the Zhou clan. The other half was controlled by a few other first-rate forces, and the true martial sect was one of them. Today, the true martial sect's properties in Ataraxia City were not peaceful. When the two bodies were sent in, apart from the fact that the shop was closed, the atmosphere in the shop became particularly oppressive. Who did this? A sturdy middle-aged man asked in a deep voice as he looked at the person who sent the bodies in. His eyes gleamed coldly. Young sect leader, I'm from the Zhou clan's auction square. Your brother and this true martial sect's elder were killed by two guests from our Zhou clan's auction square. The person who was being stared at by the middle-aged man hurriedly replied with cold sweat dripping down his forehead. From his words, it could be heard that this sturdy middle-aged man was none other than the other young sect leader of the true martial sect, Wu Jian. At the same time, he was also Wu Jie's brother. You killed my brother and my true martial sect's elder. I, Wu Jian, want you to pay with your life. As Wu Jian's eyes gleamed fiercely, ruthless aura exuded from his body as though he was about to devour someone. Brother, don't worry. I'll twist the head of the person who killed you and bring it back as a sacrifice to you. Soon after, Wu Jian looked at the young man lying on the ground. His eyes were bloodshot as he enunciated each word clearly in a deep voice. Zhou clan's auction square. In just a short while, 5 items had already been auctioned off. However, these items were useless to Duan Lingtian. In fact, 3 of the items were no different from trash in the eyes of Duan Lingtian. This is the 6th item that our Zhou clan's auction square is auctioning today. This is an extremely rare material. According to the records in the ancient books, it's called mysterious silver. On the auction stage, Zhou Ji introduced the auction item in his hand. It was an irregular ball that was as thick as an adult's fist. It was uneven and extremely ugly. Mysterious silver? As soon as Zhou Ji's words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian, who was originally resting with his eyes closed, shuddered and opened his eyes. His burning gaze immediately shot out from his eyes and focused on Zhou Ji's hand. Finally, there was something that he was interested in. Moreover, this item had an extraordinary meaning to him. What's mysterious silver? That's right. Hurry up and introduce it to us. Otherwise, we won't know what use it has even if we bring it home. At this time, many people asked Zhou Ji to introduce mysterious silver. Zhou Ji lightly smiled as he introduced. The mysterious silver is an extremely rare inscription material. As for its specific function, it's able to communicate and command the puppets that are made from the inscription formation and other things through the mysterious silver. As everyone knows, although ordinary inscription masters can create puppets, those puppets will not listen to anyone's orders, including the inscription master who created them. Puppets don't have intelligence. They can only move according to the inscription formation that the inscription master left in their bodies. Zhou Ji continued, however, if we have the mysterious silver, then everything will be different. Once the puppet is fused with the mysterious silver, and with the corresponding inscription formation, we'll be able to directly command and control the puppet. Whoosh! As soon as Zhou Ji finished speaking, there was an uproar. Puppets can be controlled through this material? Many people's eyes lit up. No. If the puppet is infused with this mysterious silver, I don't know if only I can control it, or if everyone can. If everyone can control it, it's useless. Soon, someone voiced their concerns. That's right. If anyone can control it, then wouldn't it be like making a wedding dress for someone else? Many people agreed. Soon after, similar topics spread throughout the Zhou clan's auction square. Even Zhou Ji, who was on the auction stage, heard it. Everyone, there's no need to worry. The mysterious silver needs to be combined with an inscription formation and inscription formation to control the puppet. As long as the inscription master uses a little technique, only the person he designates will be able to command and control the puppet. Zhou Ji explained word by word in the face of the concerns of the people present. Many people's eyes lit up when they heard Zhou Ji's words. If that's the case, then this mysterious silver is indeed not bad. If it's not expensive, then we can buy it and play with it. There was no lack of inscription masters among the guests at the Zhou clan's auction square today. All of them looked at the mysterious silver in Zhou Ji's hand with gleaming eyes. If it was not for the fact that they did not have the confidence to obtain the mysterious silver, they would have rushed up to snatch it. To an inscription master, mysterious silver could be considered a treasure. Although the puppet they created might not be as powerful as them, it would not be of much help to them. However, when they thought about the fact that they could have a puppet by their side at any time, and the puppet would obey them unconditionally as long as they gave an order, their hearts were filled with desire for the mysterious silver. Duan Lingtian was also filled with desire like them. With this mysterious silver, I'll be able to use the inscription formation I obtained in Qingfeng Palace. Duan Lingtian immediately thought of the gigantic wooden figure he encountered in Qingfeng Palace in Qingfeng Emperor Wu's secret treasure that was left behind by Emperor Wu. The gigantic wooden figure used the stone platform that was inscribed with a strange inscription formation as its core. It could combine the energy of the broken wood to form a powerful force. At that time, Duan Lingtian had put away the strange stone platform that was inscribed with the inscription formation because he coveted that inscription formation. Later on, Duan Lingtian wanted to use the inscription formation to combine the origin energy of a group of people to form a powerful force. He wanted to use the inscription formation to defeat the weak and defeat the strong. Unfortunately, imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel. The impure origin energy that was nurtured in one's body couldn't be combined through the inscription formation. Only the pure origin energy in the origin stones could be combined through the inscription formation. In the past, Duan Lingtian had thought of creating a large number of puppets and combining them through the inscription formation to obtain a powerful force. However, puppets were puppets after all. Even if they were created by him, he could not command or control them. Due to this reason, he gave up on the idea. Perhaps I'll only be able to use the inscription formation if I obtain the mysterious silver. This was the idea that had appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind in the past. At that time, he had searched through Reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory and found out that as long as he merged the mysterious silver into the puppet, he would be able to command and control the puppet through the corresponding inscription formation. The corresponding inscription formation was a very simple inscription formation. Almost any inscription master on Cloud Continent could inscribe and set it up. However, although the inscription formation was simple, the mysterious silver was extremely rare. At the very least, Reincarnation Emperor Wu had never encountered the mysterious silver in his 2 lifetimes. I can't believe that I, Duan Lingtian, have encountered something that Reincarnation Emperor Wu had never encountered in his 2 lifetimes. It seems like my trip to Ataraxia City this time is not in vain. Duan Lingtian looked at the mysterious silver in Zhou Ji's hand. His eyes gleamed. I must obtain this mysterious silver. If an ordinary inscription master wanted the mysterious silver to bring out the puppet to show off, Duan Lingtian would definitely want the mysterious silver. In that case, the reason Duan Lingtian wanted the mysterious silver was to forge a powerful puppet. Even if an ordinary puppet was activated by a supreme-grade origin stone that was better than a high-grade origin stone, the strength it could unleash was limited. At most, it could only be compared to an ordinary void transformation stage martial artist. However, the inscription formation that Duan Lingtian obtained from Emperor Wu's secret treasure that was left behind by Emperor Wu in Qingfeng could combine the strength of a group of puppets to form an even more powerful force. Even if the origin energy that was on par with a martial monarch powerhouse was combined into a puppet, it could be unleashed through the inscription formation. At that time, coupled with the profundity fragment that I'll put into the puppet will possess strength that's on par with a martial monarch powerhouse. It'll be equivalent to a man-made martial monarch powerhouse. When Duan Lingtian thought of this, he felt a surge of excitement in his heart. Although it was difficult for 99% of the inscription masters on Cloud Continent to put the profundity fragment into the puppet and let the puppet cast the corresponding profundity, it was still a difficult problem to solve. However, this was not a problem for Duan Lingtian, who had merged with the memories of the Reincarnation Emperor Wu. Currently, I've accumulated quite a number of profundity fragments in my hands. I can definitely create a puppet with strength that's on par with a martial monarch powerhouse. However, I still need to obtain this mysterious silver before I can do that. Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with desire as he stared at the mysterious silver in Zhouji's hand. If he did not have the mysterious silver, it would be useless no matter how powerful the puppet was. It would not listen to his orders and would not be under his control. Dear guests, think about it. If you bring a puppet that listens to your orders and is under your control out the door one day, what kind of look would the others give you? Envy. They'll definitely look at you with envy. Zhouji held the mysterious silver in his hand as he continued to exaggerate the value of the current auction item as if it was a routine. I'm determined to get this mysterious silver. Let's see who has more origin stones. I don't lack origin stones. Try to compete with me if you can. As it turned out, Zhouji's exaggeration was very effective. In just a short while, many people were arguing until their faces turned red. Although the noise that rang in his ears showed that many people wanted the mysterious silver. However, Duan Lingtian did not care. Putting aside the fact that he had obtained a large number of high-grade origin stones from the bandits led by Gold Thug before he went to the Yin Yang sect. When he became the sect leader of Lingtian sect and took over everything in the Yin Yang sect, the high-grade origin stones in his hands had accumulated to hundreds of thousands. Apart from that, there were also many supreme-grade origin stones. The supreme-grade origin stones came from the high-grade origin stone lode that was originally controlled by the Yin Yang sect and was now controlled by Lingtian sect. Of course, the production was very small, but they were all kept. Chapter 1174. With so many origin stones in his hand, Duan Lingtian did not feel any pressure when it came to bidding for the mysterious silver. The mysterious silver starts at 100 high-grade origin stones. Soon after, Zhouji announced from the auction stage and began to bid for the mysterious silver in his hand. 100 high-grade origin stones. The moment Zhouji's words left his mouth, someone made a bid. 200 high-grade origin stones. The moment the former's words left his mouth, someone else followed suit. It was obvious that the effect of the mysterious silver had attracted many people. 300 high-grade origin stones, 400 high-grade origin stones. More and more people made their bids. Soon after, the price of the mysterious silver was raised to 1,000 high-grade origin stones. However, the number of people bidding did not decrease at all. 1,100 high-grade origin stones. 1,200 upper-grade primordial stones. 100 high-grade origin stones. 2,200 high-grade origin stones. Sounds of bidding could be heard, but each time the price was increased by only 100 upper-grade primordial stones. It was fine in the beginning. However, in the end, it made Duan Lingtian feel a little frustrated. 10,000 high-grade origin stones. When someone made a bid of 3,200 high-grade origin stones, Duan Lingtian could no longer hold it in and made a bid in one go. Duan Lingtian's voice was not loud, but it drowned out the noise in the Zhou clan's auction square. 10,000 high-grade origin stones. The moment Duan Lingtian made his bid, he attracted many people's attention. Many pairs of eyes gathered on him from all directions. It's him. Soon after, many people recognized Duan Lingtian. It was the woman next to him who killed the young sect leader of True Martial Sect earlier. The old man next to the young sect leader of True Martial Sect was killed by him. Judging from the heaven and earth phenomenon formed by the heaven and earth energy when the old man next to the young sect leader of True Martial Sect attacked, he must be at the 5th or 6th level martial monarch stage. However, such a person's full-powered sword was stopped by him with just a finger. His strength must be at the 7th level martial monarch stage at the very least. Many people whispered among themselves as they looked at Duan Lingtian with eyes filled with dread. After a long while, no one continued to bid. Perhaps they were frightened by the high price that Duan Lingtian quoted. Or perhaps they were afraid of Duan Lingtian's powerful strength and didn't dare to bid. After Zhouji counted down from 3, Duan Lingtian successfully bid for the mysterious silver. Duan Lingtian took out 10,000 upper-grade origin stones and successfully exchanged them for the mysterious silver. Zhouji, the manager of the Zhou clan's auction square, personally delivered the item to him. What arrogance! If you have his strength, you can also put on such airs. Seeing this scene, many people sighed. Congratulations, sir. After Zhou handed the mysterious silver to Duan Lingtian, he smiled and congratulated him. At the same time, he asked curiously, Sir, you and I can be considered acquaintances. May I know your name? You'll know soon enough. Duan Lingtian lifted his head and looked at the sky in the distance as though he had noticed something. Upon hearing this, Zhou left awkwardly. He thought Duan Lingtian was unwilling to tell him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After a while, a few ear-piercing sounds of wind whistling could be heard. The source of the wind whistling was in the direction Duan Lingtian was looking at. They came slower than I expected. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. Everyone, including Zhou, looked as though they were facing a formidable enemy. All of them looked at the source of the sound with fear in their eyes. After a while, 5 figures appeared. A middle-aged man was the leader among the 5 of them. The remaining 4 were old men who had 1 foot in the grave. Wu Jian. When Zhou saw the middle-aged man in the lead, his expression turned grave. However, he did not seem surprised by the appearance of the person. It's Wu Jian, the young sect leader of true martial sect. Soon after, some of the guests in the Zhou clan's auction square recognized the leader of the 5 people. The young sect leader of true martial sect? Wasn't he killed just now? Many people were puzzled. The one who was killed just now is the other young sect leader of true martial sect. The current sect leader of true martial sect has 2 sons. The one who was killed is the younger son, and this is the elder son. I see. However, the other young sect leader of true martial sect sure came quickly. I heard that the young sect leader of true martial sect was originally the supervisor of the true martial sect's property in Ataraxia City. It's not strange that he came so quickly. Perhaps, the red-clad lady who killed his younger brother has limited strength. However, the purple-clad young man next to her is a powerhouse at the 7th level martial monarch stage or above. He didn't wait for the true origin sect's powerhouses and brought his men here. I'm afraid he's a little reckless. Reckless? I think you don't know. This young sect leader of true martial sect is a monstrous genius in the martial Tao. He had already broken through to the 7th level martial monarch stage 2 years ago. I see. Looks like we'll have a good show to watch today. The entire Zhou clan's auction square was bustling with noise and excitement. The group of guests was no longer bidding. Their eyes shifted to the 5 people in the sky and the man and woman in the pavilion not far away. The main characters today were none other than them. Wu Jian, the young sect leader of true martial sect? Duan Lingtian also learned about the person's identity from the discussion among the guests in the auction square. He could not help but mutter to himself, if the sect leader of true martial sect finds out that his 2 sons died in my hands, I wonder what kind of expression he'll have on his face. So, you're the ones who killed my brother and my true martial sect's elder? Soon after, Wu Jian, who was hovering in the sky, asked in a deep voice as his gaze swept over them. He instantly locked his gaze on Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu. However, both of them had no intention of replying to him. Tianwu, you stay here. Leave him to me. Duan Lingtian greeted Tianwu, who was standing next to him. After he received Tianwu's reply, he stood up unhurriedly and walked out of the pergola. What? Are you going to abandon her and run away on your own? When Wu Jian saw this, he could not help but sneer. Although she's the one who killed my brother, if you didn't kill my true martial sect's elder, she would have been killed by my true martial sect's elder a long time ago. Don't even think about running away. Wu Jian's gaze was cold as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Run away? Upon hearing Wu Jian's words, Duan Lingtian, who had just walked out of the pavilion, could not help but be stunned. Did Wu Jian think that he was going to run away? On the auction stage, Zhou stood there with a slightly strange expression on his face. Isn't Wu Jian underestimating him too much? He was well aware of the purple-clad young man's strength. In fact, the purple-clad young man was even stronger than him. However, he had no intention of warning Wu Jian. You're the brother of that good-for-nothing rich kid from earlier? Duan Lingtian did not leave as Wu Jian had expected. After he walked out of the pavilion, He rose into the air and stood opposite Wu Jian in just a blink of an eye as he asked calmly, "Humph." Wu Jian snorted coldly. The surrounding air seemed to have turned colder. One could see how furious he was. "Do you think you'll be able to make me run away?" Duan Lingtian studied Wu Jian from head to toe for a while before he smiled faintly. From the beginning until the end, his expression was calm, as though he would not bat an eyelid even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. Based on his words, it was as though he did not take Wu Jian seriously at all. "You're seeking death." Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's mocking words, Wu Jian's eyes turned even colder. His body emitted waves of chilling aura. He, Wu Jian, was the son of the sect leader of the true martial sect. He was the pride of the heavens. Since he was young, he had displayed an extremely monstrous innate talent and comprehension ability. In the end, he had skyrocketed all the way to the martial monarch stage and became a martial monarch powerhouse in his early 40s. Now, more than 10 years had passed, and he was already at the 7th level martial monarch stage. He had become one of the pillars of the true martial sect. Today, he had come to avenge his brother whom he doted on the most. However, he was humiliated by his enemy. He could no longer suppress his anger. He did not hold back at all. Boom. At the same time, the origin energy on Wu Jian's body skyrocketed. In just a blink of an eye, it transformed into a milky white flame that stirred the heaven and earth energy above his head. In just a short moment, it transformed into a heaven and earth phenomenon. An ancient black dragon's silhouette appeared. It was so lifelike. The ancient black dragon's gigantic body was visually stunning. In just a short moment, the milky white flame changed. It had merged with a few other profundities. As Wu Jian lifted his hand, a 7-foot-long spear appeared in his hand. The long spear trembled and shot out a sharp spear ray like a dragon coming out of its cave. At once, the heaven and earth energy above his head stirred again. In the end, it gathered the strength of 3 ancient black dragons and 1,000 ancient horned dragons. Die! Without warning, Wu Jian shouted and charged toward Duan Lingtian with his spear. It was as though he had transformed into a bolt of lightning and disappeared in a flash. Boom, 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 boom. Wherever Wu Jian passed by, the sound of air exploding could be heard. The rolling energy caused the airflow in the air to vibrate. Waves of invisible airwaves were stirred up and transformed into gusts of violent wind that swept through the entire Zhou clan's auction square. At once, the violent wind blew in the auction square and dust flew everywhere. However, the group of guests in the auction square did not leave the auction square because of this. Their eyes were fixed on the purple figure in the sky. They knew there was going to be a good show soon. Wu Jian, who was at the 7th level martial monarch stage, against the purple-clad young man who was at the 7th level martial monarch stage. Young sect leader. Wu Jian's attack was so fast that the 4 old men behind him did not even have time to react. When they finally regained their senses, they realized their young sect leader had already made his move. At this moment, although they were not confident, they could only brace themselves and charge forward. In terms of strength, the 4 of them were no match for Wu Jian. However, they were the elders of the true martial sect. Could it be that they were going to stand aside and do nothing when their young sect leader had already charged forward? Whoosh! Just when Wu Jian led the 4 old men and charged toward Duan Lingtian suddenly disappeared before their eyes, causing their storm-like attacks to miss. How fast? Chapter 1175. Whoosh! Like a gust of wind, the purple figure that disappeared from the encirclement of Wu Jian and the 4 old men reappeared in the sky above them. There he is. That's too fast. Even the young sect leader of true martial sect, a 7th level martial monarch, couldn't react in time. I'm afraid his cultivation base is not just at the 7th level martial monarch stage. I'm not sure about his cultivation base. However, the fact that he could disappear under Wu Jian's nose means that Wu Jian can't keep up with his speed. His strength is stronger than Wu Jian. The group of guests in the Zhou clan's auction square shifted their gaze to the sky above Wu Jian and the 4 old men. A purple-clad young man stood there. It was none other than Duan Lingtian. When Wu Jian and the four old men regained their senses and lifted their heads to look at the purple figure above them, horror dawned on them. His speed. How is it possible that he's so fast? Wu Jian's face turned grave. As a 7th-level martial monarch, he naturally knew what it meant to have such a fast speed. It meant that his opponent's strength was far more powerful than his. This was because speed was directly driven by one's strength. When he thought about how fast his opponent was and how difficult it was to catch him, he felt helpless. Young sect leader, I'm afraid we're no match for him. Let's return first and inform the sect leader before we make a decision. That's right, young sect leader. Where there's life, there's hope. There's no need to lose our lives in a moment of anger. Young sect leader, the sect leader will avenge little young sect leader. At this moment, the four old men next to Wu Jian tried to persuade him through voice transmission. They knew that if Wu Jian continued to be stubborn, he would not be the only one who would die. The four of them would die with him as well. For martial monarch powerhouses like them, nobody knew better than them how difficult it was to obtain their cultivation base. Due to this reason, they cared more about their own lives. Wu Jian's expression changed when he heard the four old men's voice transmission. In the end, he lifted his head and shouted as though he was venting his anger. Then, he said coldly, "Let's go." He was about to leave with the four old men when he finished speaking. Did I say all of you can leave? However, this sentence caused the five of them, including Wu Jian, to pause. Their expressions were ugly as they looked at the sky above them where the voice had originated from. The voice came from Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian stood there. His purple robe was similar to Feng Qingyang's, and he looked very elegant. Coupled with his almost perfect handsome face, he attracted the gazes of many women in the Zhou clan's auction house. What? You still want to keep us here? Wu Jian looked at Duan Lingtian and sneered. We're indeed weaker than you, but if you dare to touch us, you'll be making an enemy of the entire true martial sect. The true martial sect will definitely not let you off. Young man, although your strength is not bad, you're still lacking when compared to the powerhouses of our true martial sect. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't harm others and yourself. An old man beside Wu Jian added. Between his words, there was a trace of arrogance between his brows. True martial sect? Harm others and myself? Duan Lingtian smiled when he heard Wu Jian and the old man's words. It was a brilliant smile that sent chills down Wu Jian and the others' spines. What's he smiling about? At once, Duan Lingtian attracted the attention of everyone in the Zhou clan's auction house. Duan Lingtian's smile sent chills down their spines. Do you think he'll dare to kill Wu Jian and the others? I don't think so. I'm afraid the death of Wu Jia is enough to make the sect leader of the true martial sect fly into a rage. If Wu Jian dies as well, the sect leader of the true martial sect will lose his bloodline. I'm afraid he'll go completely crazy. Moreover, Wu Jian is only in his 50s, and he's already at the 7th level martial monarch stage. I heard he's already considered as the next successor to the sect leader of the true martial sect. If Wu Jian dies, not only will the sect leader of the true martial sect be enraged, but the entire true martial sect's high-ranking officials will be enraged as well. If he kills Wu Jia, only the sect leader of the true martial sect will interfere. However, if he kills Wu Jian, I'm afraid the true martial sect's strongest people will be enraged and attack him together. Due to this reason, I don't think he'll dare to kill Wu Jian. At most, he'll just scare him. I think so too. Discussions continued in the Zhou clan's auction house. Most people thought Duan Lingtian was trying to intimidate Wu Jian and the others by asking them to stay. He did not intend to kill them. However, there were two people who did not think so. One of them was naturally Feng Tianwu. The other person was Zhouji. Although Zhouji had only interacted with Duan Lingtian once, it was during that time that he realized how fearless this young man was. It was an arrogance that did not fear anyone. That's right. It's easy for you to make a move on us, but if you do, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Another old man behind Wu Jian said, the young sect leader is the next successor to the sect leader of the true martial sect. If you dare to make a move on him, you'll be making an enemy out of the entire true martial sect. At that time, you'll be hunted down by the entire true martial sect. Another old man said, hunted down by the true martial sect? The smile on Duan Lingtian's face did not change as he muttered to himself. That sounds interesting. In that case, in order to make the true martial sect hunt me down, I can only sacrifice all of you. Soon after, Duan Lingtian changed the topic as he looked at Wu Jian and the others with killing intent in his eyes. The cold air emitted from his body seemed to have transformed into a cold wind that caused everyone in the Zhou clan's auction house to shudder involuntarily. As soon as Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian raised his hand, and a 3-foot-long blade that was completely formed from 5-colored energy appeared and hovered next to him. Following that, as the air around his body vibrated, another 8 3-foot-long blades that were completely formed from 5-colored energy appeared. A total of 9 3-foot-long blades hovered around him. Oh no! When Wu Jian and the others heard Duan Lingtian's words, their expressions changed. Run! In the next moment, this was the only thought left in their minds. Whoosh! 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 Wu Jian took the lead, wanting to escape. The other 4 old men fled in different directions with all their might. Escape? Duan Lingtian smiled. Then, his eyes turned cold as he slowly uttered 5 words. 9 tribulations, sword manipulation technique. As Duan Lingtian uttered the word technique, the 9 3-foot-long blades that were formed from 5-colored energy around him disappeared into thin air before most people's eyes. Of course, they did not really disappear. They were so fast that many people could not react in time. So fast. On the auction stage, Zhou Ji could vaguely see the traces of Duan Lingtian's 9 swords. The 9 swords were so fast that he could not help but break out in cold sweat. His ability is indeed more powerful than mine. This was the first thought that came to Zhou Ji's mind. If I had attacked him when he killed Zhou Li, I'm afraid my outcome would be the same as Zhou Li's. He did not doubt this at all. The purple-clad young man before him had the ability to do so. Today, as long as the people at the Zhou clan's auction square lifted their heads, they saw a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. As the 9 3-foot-long blades that were formed from 5-colored energy around the purple-clad young man disappeared into thin air, Wu Jian and the other 4 old men who were about to flee paused in midair at the same time. Poof, poof, poof. Soon after, 5 clouds of blood mist shot out from their bodies and bloomed. It was as though they had transformed into 5 gorgeous fireworks that were extremely eye-catching. In the next moment, Wu Jian and the other 4 old men fell head first. After flying for a distance due to inertia, they fell hard on the ground and became a few puddles of flesh and blood. Duan Lingtian stood in the air and watched the scene before him calmly. As for the 9 3-foot-long blades that had disappeared into thin air around him, they never returned. It was as though they had completely disappeared. The heaven and earth energy that was stirring in the air above his head also dissipated before it could form the heaven and earth phenomenon. It was as though it had never appeared. Silence. The entire Zhou clan's auction square was terrifyingly silent. At this moment, even if a needle was thrown to the ground, the sound would be heard clearly. Everyone's gaze landed on the purple-clad figure in the air. The purple-clad figure seemed to have become extremely tall and big in their eyes. It seems like I've underestimated him. The corner of Zhou Ji's mouth twitched violently. When the purple-clad young man dodged the attacks of Wu Jian and the other 4, he could already tell that the purple-clad young man was more powerful than him. However, he only felt that the purple-clad young man was slightly more powerful than him. Now that he had personally witnessed the purple-clad young man killing Wu Jian and the other 4 old men in the blink of an eye, he finally realized the difference between them. Even if it was me, if he wanted to kill me, I'm afraid he could kill me in an instant. Zhou Ji's heart skipped a beat. Fear still lingered in his heart when he recalled the incident that happened backstage. It was fortunate that he did not make a move at that time. Otherwise, he would not be standing here right now. He's the one who killed Zhou Li? Outside the Zhou clan's auction square, 2 figures stood on top of an inconspicuous building. They were both old men. At this moment, one of the old men was speaking slowly. His strength is at least at the 8th level martial monarch stage, or even higher. However, I can't help but admire his courage. He actually dared to kill both of Wu Lai's sons consecutively. I wonder how angry Wu Lai would be if he found out about this. In the end, he said to the old man next to him, "Second elder, you're fast? Go to the true martial sect and inform Wu Lai about this." Wu Lai was the current sect leader of the true martial sect. At the same time, he was also the father of Wu Jie and Wu Jin, who were killed by Feng Tianwu and Duan Lingtian. Yes, clan leader. When the old man heard this, he responded and disappeared into thin air. It's a good thing that the Grand Elder hasn't come out from his closed-door cultivation yet. Otherwise, with his temper, he would have definitely attacked this young man. I wonder where this young man came from? Chapter 1176. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Duan Lingtian, who had killed Wu Jian and the other four, descended from the sky and returned to Feng Tianwu's side in the pavilion as though nothing had happened. It was as though everything that had happened earlier was not his doing. At once, the crowd felt their scalps go numb. Who is he? He actually killed Wu Jian. Sect leader Wu Lai of the true martial sect has lost 2 of his sons consecutively. Once he finds out about this, I'm afraid he'll be so furious that he'll leave the true martial sect's estate immediately and rush to Ataraxia City. It's not just the sect leader of the true martial sect. Once the news of Wu Jian's death spreads, I'm afraid the other powerful old fellows in the true martial sect won't let this matter rest. Many people whispered among themselves as they broke out in cold sweat for Duan Lingtian. However, when they saw Duan Lingtian sitting in the pavilion with a calm expression on his face, it was obvious that the other people were more worried than him. Let the auction continue, Zhou Ji said loudly when he saw that the matter had come to an end. As for the 5 scattered corpses, the people from the Zhou clan's auction market were responsible for cleaning them up. At once, the crowd's attention in the Zhou clan's auction market shifted from Duan Lingtian to Zhou Ji. Zhou Ji was the host of the auction this time. The auction continued. However, during the bidding for the following items, many people would look at Duan Lingtian from time to time. It was as though they wanted to know if Duan Lingtian was interested in the items being auctioned. They were afraid that if they increased the price, it would displease this mysterious powerhouse and bring disaster upon themselves. On Cloud Continent, the strong were revered. They had no choice but to be cautious. If Duan Lingtian knew what they were thinking, he would definitely be speechless. He was here to participate in the auction, not to be a bandit. Besides, did he look like a bandit? When they saw Duan Lingtian was resting with his eyes closed and did not show any interest in the following items, the other guests in the auction market finally felt at ease and continued to bid. Time passed by quietly. One by one, the auction items were bought at high prices. Originally, the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in my hand was supposed to be the finale today. On the auction stage, Zhou Ji's voice was transmitted into the ears of all the guests in the auction house, causing a wave of disapproving hisses. A first-grade Spirit Saber? The finale? Manager Zhou Ji, are you joking? As soon as Zhou Ji finished speaking, someone could not help but make fun of him. Yes, Manager Zhou Ji. How can a mere Grade 1 spirit weapon be qualified to be the finale of the large-scale auction that your Zhou clan's auction square holds every 3 months? It's a wise move for you to take it out to auction first. Not bad. A Grade 1 spiritual artifact is precious. But in an auction like this, it's nothing. Many people said with a smile, "Humph." Of course, there were also people who refuted the previous people's words. Don't forget that there were also 2 Grade 1 spirit weapons that were auctioned by Manager Zhou Ji earlier. However, those 2 Grade 1 spirit weapons were auctioned early in the morning. Do you think the Grade 1 Spirit Saber that was considered the finale by the Zhou clan's auction square is an ordinary Grade 1 spirit weapon? The people who said these words had all thought it through carefully. So far, 2 Grade 1 spirit weapons have been auctioned off in this auction. The Grade 1 Spirit Saber in Zhou Ji's hand was the 3rd Grade 1 spirit weapon. Zhou Ji said that this Grade 1 Spirit Saber was the finale of the auction today. This meant that there must be something extraordinary about it. Manager Zhou Ji, is that so? Soon, many people began to ask. That's right. Zhou Ji nodded in the face of the gazes and said, The Grade 1 Spirit Saber in my hand is a Supreme Grade 1 Spirit weapon. Now, all of you should know why it's qualified to be the finale of the auction today, right? The moment Zhou Ji's words left his mouth, the entire place fell silent. Only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. A Supreme Grade 1 Spirit weapon. Naturally, they knew what it was. Only a Grade 1 Spirit weapon that had an 89% boost was qualified to be called a Supreme Grade 1 Spirit weapon. In other words, the current auction item, the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in Manager Zhou Ji's hand, was a Grade 1 Spirit Saber that had an 89% boost in strength. There was not much difference between a Grade 1 Spirit weapon that had an 89% boost in strength and an 88% boost in strength. At the very least, there was not much difference in a battle between martial artists. The difference in strength could be made up for with battle experience and martial skills. However, a Grade 1 Spirit weapon like this was a rare treasure to a Grade 1 weapons craftsman. This was because a Grade 1 weapons craftsman might be able to improve his weapon crafting skills by studying it. Due to this reason, a Grade 1 spirit weapon like this was extremely valuable. Naturally, it was worth bragging about using a Grade 1 spirit weapon like this. This was because Grade 1 spirit weapons like this were extremely rare on Cloud Continent. As the saying went, a thing is precious when it is rare. This was the case. A Grade 1 spirit weapon that has an 89% boost in strength? At this moment, even Duan Lingtian opened his eyes and looked at the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in Zhou Ji's hand with interest. As someone who had merged with the Reincarnation Emperor Wu's memories and inherited the Reincarnation Emperor Wu's refining skills and experience, naturally, Duan Lingtian knew how difficult it was to refine a Grade 1 spirit weapon that had an 89% boost in strength. I can't believe there's still someone in this world who can refine a Grade 1 spirit weapon like this. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. When Duan Lingtian was looking at the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in Zhou Ji's hand, the other people in the VIP area shifted their attention from the Grade 1 Spirit Saber to Duan Lingtian. All of them wanted to bid for the Grade 1 Spirit Saber. However, when they remembered that Duan Lingtian was here, they could not help but look at Duan Lingtian. They wanted to know if Duan Lingtian was interested in the Grade 1 Spirit Saber as well. He's also looking at the Grade 1 Spirit Saber. Don't tell me he's also interested in the Grade 1 Spirit Saber? Isn't it obvious? Who dares to compete with him if he wants it? Aren't you wearing a mask? What are you afraid of? Do you think it makes a difference whether I'm wearing a mask or not to a powerhouse at his level? He can kill me as soon as I bid for the Grade 1 Spirit Saber. That's true. The group of people in the VIP area discussed among themselves. In the end, those who were not wearing masks had a bitter expression on their faces. As for those who were wearing masks, their expressions could not be seen. However, all of them shook their heads and sighed. Their discussion entered Duan Lingtian's ears in full detail, and it caused Duan Lingtian to be speechless. He could not help but frown as he said, "All of you, are you treating me like a bandit? Put aside the fact that I'm not interested in this broken saber. Even if I was, I wouldn't use such a despicable method to snatch it. Moreover, if I wanted to snatch it, there's no need for the Zhou clan's auction fair to hold an auction. I'll just snatch everything," Duan Lingtian said. Everyone felt a little awkward when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. However, based on Duan Lingtian's words, they were certain that Duan Lingtian was not interested in the Grade 1 Spirit Saber. He even called it a broken saber. Don't worry, everyone. This guest won't be interested in the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in my hand. Zhou Ji chimed in at this moment. As for the reason, he knew very well. Among the two auction items that replaced the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in his hand, one of them was a Grade 1 Spirit weapon that was even more perfect than the Grade 1 Spirit Saber. That Grade 1 Spirit weapon was the purple-clad young man who had put it up for auction. Naturally, the purple-clad young man would not be interested in this Grade 1 Spirit Saber. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words and Zhou Ji's words, everyone nodded one after another. They no longer had any concerns and stared at the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in Zhou Ji's hand like hungry wolves. Now, let's begin the auction for the Grade 1 Spirit Saber in my hand that can provide an 89% boost in strength. The starting bid for this Grade 1 Spirit Saber is 3,000 high-grade origin stones, 3,000 high-grade origin stones. Duan Lingtian could not help but click his tongue when he heard Zhouji's words. In fact, the total value of all the materials used to refine a Grade 1 spirit weapon was only about 100 high-grade origin stones. Naturally, that was only the cost of the materials. It seems like the starting bid for the Grade 1 spirit sword that I put up for auction is even higher than this. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Just as Duan Lingtian was thinking about this, the Grade 1 spirit saber in Zhouji's hand had already been auctioned for 10,000 high-grade origin stones. Moreover, the price was still rising. 30,000 high-grade origin stones. 40,000 high-grade origin stones. Currently, the people who bid were basically the guests in the VIP area. The guests in the ordinary area had extinguished their bids one by one. These people can take out so many high-grade origin stones so casually. Duan Lingtian looked around the VIP area. His eyes shone brightly as they swept past everyone. He thought to himself, if I kill these people, wouldn't I be able to obtain a huge amount of wealth? However, Duan Lingtian only thought about it. He did not lack high-grade origin stones now. Just the Lingtian sect that he controlled alone would mine hundreds of thousands or even millions of high-grade origin stones from the high-grade origin stone reserve that he controlled every year. As long as he was willing, he could mobilize more disciples in the Lingtian sect to mine more high-grade origin stones. In the end, the Grade 1 spirit saber with an 89% amplification was auctioned off for 110,000 high-grade origin stones. Haha, everyone, thank you for letting me win. The person who bid for the Grade 1 spirit saber was a white-haired old man wearing a mask. After he laughed, he took out a spatial ring that contained 110,000 high-grade origin stones and exchanged it for the Grade 1 spirit saber. Good saber. The old man was elated when he obtained the spirit saber. 110,000 high-grade origin stones? With this lousy saber? Duan Lingtian did not expect a Grade 1 spirit saber with an 89% amplification would be auctioned off for such a high price. When the Grade 1 spirit sword that I put up for auction comes out, won't it fetch an even higher price? Chapter 1177. At the same time, the group of people in the Zhou clan's auction square was also discussing the finale item. To be able to replace the Supreme Grade 1 spirit weapon, it seems like the finale item in the Zhou clan's auction square today is no ordinary item. I'm very curious. What's the item that's better than the Grade 1 spirit saber that was sold for 110,000 high-grade origin stones? I'm really looking forward to it. The crowd looked at Zhouji with anticipation in their eyes. Some of them could not help but say, Manager Zhouji, hurry up and take out the finale item in your auction square today. That's right. Stop keeping us in suspense. We're all waiting. Many people urged Zhouji. Everyone, please calm down. Our Zhou clan's auction square will naturally take out the finale item. However, I'm still thinking about which item should we auction first. Zhouji said. Which auction item? Many people were stunned when they heard Zhouji's words. Some of them reacted first and exclaimed, Manager Zhouji, based on what you're saying, there's more than one finale item in the Zhou clan's auction square today? More than one finale item. At this moment, apart from Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu, everyone present was shocked. That's right. There's a total of 2 finale items in the auction today. Zhouji replied with a smile. 2. The moment Zhouji's words left his mouth, the sound of people inhaling sharply rose in the air. Since it's the finale item, it must be better than the Grade 1 spirit saber that can increase one's strength by 89%. In that case, the Zhou clan's auction square is going to take out 2 good items today. 2 items that are better than the Supreme Grade 1 spirit weapon. I'm really looking forward to it. Just thinking about it makes me excited. At this moment, many people were so excited that their bodies began to tremble. All right. I've decided to auction the first Grade 1 spirit weapon among the 2 finale items. Zhouji, who was standing on the auction stage, announced under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Grade 1 spirit weapon. The moment Zhouji's words left his mouth, the entire place fell silent. Another Grade 1 spirit weapon? Manager Zhouji, could it be that you're mistaken? That's right. The finale item should be better than the Grade 1 Spirit Saber that was auctioned earlier, right? Soon, many people voiced their doubts. In their opinion, the Grade 1 Spirit Saber that was auctioned for 110,000 high-grade Origin Stones was already a Supreme Grade 1 Spirit Weapon. Among the Grade 1 Spirit Weapons, it could be considered as the Supreme King. Now, when they heard that Joji had replaced the Grade 1 Spirit Saber as one of the final 2 auction items, they naturally thought that Joji had made a mistake. Perhaps, in their eyes, they did not expect a Grade 1 Spirit Weapon that surpassed the Grade 1 Spirit Saber earlier would appear. Everyone, please calm down. If you have any questions after I finish introducing this Grade 1 Spirit Weapon, you can ask me. After calming everyone down, Joji raised his hand and took out a sword. It was the Grade 1 Spirit Sword that Duan Lingtian had put up for auction. At once, everyone in the Zhou clan's auction square shifted their attention to the Grade 1 Spirit Sword in Joji's hand. All of them were confused. I can't tell what's so special about this first-grade spiritual sword. Many people whispered among themselves. Everyone, the reason the Grade 1 Spirit Sword in my hand is able to suppress the Grade 1 Spirit Saber earlier and become one of the final 2 auction items today. Joji paused for a moment before he paused. At this point, Joji paused for a moment. He waited until he had whetted everyone's appetite before he continued. It's because it can increase one's strength by 90%. When Joji reached the end of his sentence, his tone became heavier. 90%. The moment Joji's words left his mouth, the entire place fell silent. Gulp, gulp. Soon after, one could clearly hear the sound of people swallowing their saliva and inhaling sharply. A Grade 1 spirit weapon that can increase one's strength by 90%? Manager Joji, are you sure you're not joking? A middle-aged man in the VIP area asked solemnly. Dear guest, I think you must believe in our Zhou clan's auction square's reputation. That's why you're willing to pay such a high price to get a seat in the VIP area. Do you think our Zhou clan's auction square would lie to you? Joji still had a smile on his face when he was questioned. Manager Joji, that's not what I meant. I just feel that this is too unbelievable. The middle-aged man said awkwardly, Dear guest, if you have any doubts, you can come up and give it a try. Joji said. The moment the middle-aged man heard this, his eyes lit up. In the end, he looked at the young man who was much younger than him. Junior brother, go and give it a try. The young man nodded and immediately left the pergola to go up to the auction stage. My junior brother's cultivation base is at the 7th level void transformation. If he only uses his origin energy, it's equivalent to the strength of 1,000 ancient horn dragons. If the sword in Manager Joji's hand can really increase one's strength by 90%, then it's exactly the strength of 900 ancient horn dragons. The middle-aged man, who was the senior brother, said after the young man went up to the stage. For a moment, everyone looked at the young man in anticipation. From the beginning until the end, Duan Lingtian watched the commotion in front of him calmly. He watched as the young man tested the Grade 1 spirit weapon in Joji's hand. He watched as 900 ancient horn dragon silhouettes appeared next to the 1,000 ancient horn dragon silhouettes above the young man's head. At the same time, an uproar broke out among the crowd. A Grade 1 spirit weapon that could increase one's strength by 90% shocked everyone and made them go crazy. However, Duan Lingtian was happy when he saw these people going crazy. This meant that this group of people would go crazy and fight for his Grade 1 spirit sword. However, his face turned gloomy again soon after. He noticed that many people in the VIP area were looking at him again. It was as though they were trying to see if he was interested in the Grade 1 spirit sword. All of them were wary. Wary? He must get rid of that thought immediately. What a joke. He was the one who put the Grade 1 spirit sword up for auction at the Zhou clan's auction square. If he could not sell it for a good price, he would be the one who would suffer the greatest loss. Why are all of you looking at me? I'm not interested in these lousy sabers and swords, Duan Lingtian said impatiently. He did not bother to say that he would not snatch the item that he had bid for. Lousy saber? Lousy sword? Many people's mouths twitched when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. They could not figure out if Duan Lingtian was telling the truth or not. A Grade 1 spirit saber that could increase one's strength by 89% was considered the best Grade 1 spirit weapon. However, he had regarded it as a lousy saber. Now, a Grade 1 spirit sword that could increase one's strength by 90% that was even better than the Grade 1 spirit saber was regarded as a lousy sword by him. In everyone's opinion, it was unbelievable that Duan Lingtian would say something like that. However, the crowd was certain of one thing. This fiend was not interested in the Grade 1 spirit sword that was being auctioned. For a time, the sounds of breathing in the VIP area became hurried. Many people were waiting for the Grade 1 spirit sword to be auctioned. Unlike the commotion during the auction of the Grade 1 spirit saber earlier, the auction of the Grade 1 spirit sword was exceptionally quiet now. The best Grade 1 spirit weapon among the best Grade 1 spirit weapons. A Grade 1 spirit sword was such a Grade 1 spirit weapon. Why should I buy this lousy saber? How good would it be if I had saved my origin stones to buy that sword? The old man who had won the bid for the Grade 1 spirit saber earlier had a bitter smile on his face instead of a smug expression. Since he had spent 110,000 high-grade origin stones to bid for the Grade 1 spirit saber, he no longer had enough origin stones to bid for the Grade 1 spirit sword that was even more valuable. His heart was filled with regret. I won't say much about the value of this Grade 1 spirit sword. Those who know will naturally know. Now, I announce that the Grade 1 spirit sword will be auctioned off at 5,000 high-grade origin stones. Zhouji announced loudly as he stood on the auction stage. 5,000 high-grade origin stones. Compared to the starting price of the Grade 1 spirit saber earlier, it was 2,000 high-grade origin stones more. Duan Lingtian was very satisfied with the starting price. He was so satisfied that a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. 10,000 high-grade origin stones. Soon after, someone yelled out loudly, "How stingy! 50,000 high-grade origin stones." Another person bid, "Do you think you're not stingy? 100,000 high-grade origin stones." The third person bid 100,000 high-grade origin stones. Humph! That lousy saber earlier was auctioned off at 110,000 high-grade origin stones. You guys bid for half a day, but you still can't surpass that lousy saber. How embarrassing. I bid 150,000 high-grade origin stones. Soon after, the fourth person bid loudly. Apart from the first person who bid, the second, third, and fourth people who bid were all from the VIP area. 150,000 high-grade origin stones. Duan Lingtian was shocked. He did not expect the Grade 1 spirit weapon he casually refined would be auctioned off at such a high price. The materials he used to refine the Grade 1 spirit sword were worth at most 80 to 90 Grade 1 origin stones. The refining methods and experience that the rebirth martial emperor left behind for me is really an enormous fortune. Just by relying on this skill, I don't lack origin stones anymore. Duan Lingtian sighed emotionally. 300,000 high-grade origin stones. Initially, Duan Lingtian did not pay much attention to the voices in the surroundings. It was only when this loud and clear voice resonated in the air that it attracted his attention. It was not only because of the high price, it was also because of the person who bid the high price. The person who bid the high price was none other than Zhouji, who was on the auction stage. It was obvious he was bidding for the Grade 1 spirit sword on behalf of the Zhou clan. The Zhou clan is really bold. Previously, when the price was only 190,000 high-grade primal stones, they directly bid 300,000 high-grade primal stones. Many people exclaimed. As expected, the Grade 1 spirit sword was obtained by the Zhou clan. Chapter 1178. When the Grade 1 spirit sword was bought by Zhouji on behalf of the Zhou clan at the sky-high price of 300,000 high-grade origin stones, the atmosphere in the Zhou clan's auction fair reached its peak. There's still one more item for the finale, the last auction item. Since manager Zhouji has arranged for it to be the last item to be auctioned off, it must have its own outstanding aspects. I'm really looking forward to it. In the Zhou clan's auction fair, many pairs of eyes were trained on Zhouji as they waited for the appearance of the last item. Zhouji did not disappoint the crowd. After putting the Grade 1 spirit sword away, he took out a pill bottle. It was a pill bottle that looked extremely ordinary. Pill? Many people were disappointed when they saw the pill bottle. Pill. Even a grade 1 pill could not compare to a grade 1 spirit weapon in terms of value. Naturally, it was only a grade 1 pill with ordinary purity. I believe the pill that manager Zhouji has placed at the end of the auction is definitely not an ordinary pill, someone said. At the same time, he looked at Zhouji with an expectant expression. His words received the approval of many people. Everyone, there is a medicinal pill in the medicinal pill bottle in my hand. This medicinal pill is also the last item of our Zhou family auction house's auction today. It's also the finale. Zhouji said to the crowd as he stood on the auction stage and waved the pill bottle in his hand. A pill? Many people were shocked by Zhouji's words. It was still acceptable to use a bottle of pills with high purity as the finale. However, it was a little stingy to use a mere pill. This was what most people thought. However, they soon changed their minds. This was because Zhouji had introduced the pill. To be more precise, it was the grade 1 life recovery pill. A grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91%? Then, wouldn't its medicinal effect be a few times stronger than an ordinary grade 1 life recovery pill? After a moment of silence, many people exclaimed in shock. Manager Zhouji, I wonder if you can take out the grade 1 life recovery pill for me to take a look? An old man wearing a mask in the VIP area stood up. Everyone, including Zhouji, shifted their gazes to him. When he raised his hand, a wisp of purple flame with silver edges appeared in his hand. It was a grade 2 pill fire. Based on this, it could be seen that this old man was a grade 2 alchemist. The reason he made such a request was none other than because he did not dare to believe that a grade 1 pill with a purity of 91% existed, and he wanted to verify it himself. Although the Zhou clan's auction square had always had a good reputation and had never cheated anyone before, a grade 1 pill with a purity of 91% was just too ridiculous. He found it hard to believe. Of course. Zhouji nodded. At the same time, he took out a grade 1 life recovery pill from the pill bottle and displayed it in front of the masked old man who had ascended the auction stage like a gust of wind. The masked old man looked at the first grade life recovery pill. After a short moment, his exposed eyes turned from curiosity to shock, and in the end, they were filled with shock. It's really a grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91%. Very soon, the masked old man's breathing became extremely hurried. At the same time, he couldn't help but cry out in alarm. His voice was filled with inexplicable shock. Upon hearing the masked old man's confirmation, the Zhou clan's auction square stirred again. If the grade 1 spirit sword that gave a 90% boost was for their own use, most people would not be willing to pay such a ridiculous price for it. However, this grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91% was enough for them to fight for it with all their might. A grade 1 life recovery pill was widely used as a healing pill. A grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91% was many times more powerful than an ordinary grade 1 life recovery pill. Although it was not at the level of reviving a dead person, it was not far from it. Such a pill could save a life at a critical moment. How could they not be moved by it? A person only had one life, and it would be gone if they died. So what if they had to spend all their wealth for their own life? Nobody knew when, but the Zhou clan's auction square fell into a dead silence. Only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard, causing the atmosphere to become heavy. At this moment, apart from Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu, everyone's attention was on the grade 1 life recovery pill in Zhouji's hand. No one was an exception. Tianwu, how much do you think this grade 1 life recovery pill that I put up for auction will be sold for? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile as he looked at Tianwu who was next to him. It won't be any lower than the sword earlier, Tianwu replied. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly. It was as good as saying nothing. At the same time, the auction for the grade 1 life recovery pill that he put up for auction officially began. Dear guests, I'm sure I don't need to explain the significance of this grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91%. Let's begin the auction. The starting price is 10,000 high-grade origin stones. Zhouji announced loudly on the auction stage. 100,000 high-grade origin stones. As soon as Zhou Ji's words left his mouth, someone from the VIP area made a bid. At once, the people in the ordinary area shook their heads. They knew they no longer had the chance to make a bid. 200,000 high-grade origin stones. Soon after, a second person from the VIP area made a bid. 250,000 high-grade origin stones. The third person followed suit without any hesitation. It seems like I'll be able to break the price of that grade 1 spirit sword soon. A smile appeared on Duan Lingtian's face. If the materials required to refine a first-grade spiritual sword were only worth 100 upper-grade primal stones, it would be worth 100 upper-grade primal stones. In that case, the materials required to refine a cauldron of 10 grade 1 life recovery pills would only be worth a few dozen high-grade origin stones at most. However, a pill that could be refined using materials that were worth a few high-grade origin stones could be sold for hundreds of thousands of high-grade origin stones. This was a huge profit. 400,000 high-grade origin stones. A familiar voice resonated again. It was Zhou Ji who was bidding on behalf of the Zhou clan for the grade 1 life recovery pill that Duan Lingtian put up for auction. The first bid was 400,000 high-grade origin stones. 450,000 high-grade origin stones. This time, someone followed suit immediately. 500,000 high-grade origin stones. Zhou Ji bid again, and only then was he able to suppress the crowd and obtain the final victory. He managed to bid for the grade 1 life recovery pill in his hands. What a pity. I have limited high-grade origin stones with me. Otherwise, I'd definitely get this grade 1 life recovery pill. Many people in the VIP area shook their heads and sighed. 800,000 high-grade origin stones. Duan Lingtian smiled brightly. In his opinion, the high-grade origin stones were too easy to come by. Of course, he also knew that all of this was because the two items he took out were existences that could only be chanced upon by luck in the eyes of others. As the saying went, the rarer something is, the more valuable it is. If he were to take out a dozen or 20 grade 1 spirit swords, or a few hundred grade 1 life recovery pills, they would not be as valuable anymore. The auction held by our Zhou clan's auction square today has come to an end. Thank you for coming. Zhou Ji greeted the crowd with a smile on the auction stage. At once, many people stood up and prepared to leave. Hold on. At that moment, a voice suddenly resonated in the air. Although the voice was not loud, it was like a clap of thunder. Everyone, including Zhou Ji, was stunned as they turned to look at the source of the voice. It's him. A hint of dread could be seen in everyone's eyes when they saw the person. Naturally, the person that everyone was staring at was Duan Lingtian. Sir, is there anything else? Zhou Ji did not dare to slight Duan Lingtian as he asked respectfully. Earlier, the two items that I put up for auction at your Zhou clan's auction square were sold for a total of 800,000 high-grade origin stones. Now, shouldn't you give me the 800,000 high-grade origin stones? Duan Lingtian asked Zhou Ji under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Gasp. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone was shocked. That sword and the grade 1 life recovery pill were put up for auction by him? No wonder he said the sword was a lousy sword and had no interest in the grade 1 life recovery pill. As it turns out, he was the one who put up the two auction items for auction himself. For a time, everyone present came to a sudden understanding. They finally understood why this maleficent existence hadn't bid for those two precious treasures that could only be chanced upon by luck. As it turned out, he was the one who put up the two rare treasures for auction himself. Sir, according to the rules of our Zhou clan's auction square, the auction proceeds will only be given to the person who put up the auction items for auction after the auction has ended. Zhou Ji was a little speechless when Duan Lingtian openly admitted that he was the one who put up the two auction items for auction in front of the crowd. Naturally, although he was speechless, he still explained patiently, moreover, I don't have that many high-grade origin stones with me. I'll have to return to our Zhou clan's mansion to get them. You still want to return to your Zhou clan's mansion to get them? What if you go back on your word? Duan Lingtian asked with a frown. Don't worry, sir. Our Zhou clan will never do anything that will ruin our reputation. Zhou Ji smiled wryly. Then hurry up and return to your Zhou clan's mansion to get them. I'll wait for you here. Also, please don't leave and be my witness." Duan Lingtian frowned and shifted his gaze to the crowd. "After I've collected the 800,000 high-grade origin stones, I'll tell everyone about the origins of the Grade 1 Spirit Sword and Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill that I put up for auction." Whoosh! The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, it caused a commotion. Today, the most unforgettable thing for the people present was undoubtedly the Grade 1 Spirit Sword that gave a 90% boost and the Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill with a purity of 91% that were bought by the Zhou clan. Many of them even felt that missing out on the sword and the pill today would become their lifelong regret. However, the person who put up the sword and the pill for auction said he would tell them about the origins of the sword and the pill. How could they not be shocked? How could they not be excited? "Manager Zhouji, you should hurry up and return to the Zhou clan's mansion to get the high-grade origin stones." Chapter 1179. Manager Zhouji, why don't I lend you 300,000 high-grade origin stones first? You can return them to me later. I can't wait to find out the origin of the sword and the pill. An old man in the VIP area said to Zhouji. This old man had bid for the Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill earlier, but due to his limited wealth, he did not manage to win the bid. "I have 200,000 high-grade origin stones here as well. I can lend them to the Zhou clan first. I believe in the Zhou clan's reputation. I can lend you 300,000 as well." Another two people chimed in. Just like that, 800,000 high-grade origin stones were gathered. It was obvious they were eager to find out the origin of the sword and the pill. Perhaps they might even have a chance to obtain a Grade 1 Spirit Sword and a Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill like the sword and the pill. Just when Zhouji was speechless and did not know what to do, a voice resonated from the distance and was getting closer and closer. "Thank you for your kind intentions. However, I don't think our Zhou clan needs to borrow high-grade origin stones from all of you." Accompanying the voice was a dignified old man. The old man walked in the air. Every step he took seemed to have merged perfectly with the heavens and the earth. From this, one could see how extraordinary the old man's cultivation base was. "Clan leader." As soon as the old man appeared, Zhouji bowed respectfully at him. "Clan leader?" Everyone present was shocked when they heard Zhouji's words. It seemed that there was only one person who could be addressed as patriarch by Zhouji. It was Zhou Zheng, the clan leader of the Zhou clan in Ataraxia City. "Greetings, clan leader Zhou." "Greetings, clan leader Zhou." At once, everyone present greeted Zhou Zheng. Their voices were filled with reverence. Apart from being the clan leader of the Zhou clan, Zhou Zheng was also an extremely powerful powerhouse. It was said that he was at the 8th level martial monarch stage, and the profundity that he had comprehended was extremely powerful as well. Even in the entire Zhou clan, he was one of the best. Unlike the enthusiasm of the others, Duan Lingtian had a calm expression on his face when he looked at Zhou Zheng. It was as though the old man in front of him was not the leader of a first-rate force. Instead, he was just an ordinary old man. When Duan Lingtian was sizing up Zhou Zheng was sizing him up as well. "Dear guest, I apologize on behalf of the Zhou family for what happened to Zhou Li," Zhou Zheng said with a smile. "If apologies are useful, what's the point of a martial artist cultivating?" Just as everyone was astonished by Zhou Zheng's apology to Duan Lingtian, Duan Lingtian's reply nearly made them vomit blood. The dignified patriarch of a first-rate force, the Zhou clan, is apologizing to you, and you still don't appreciate it? This, Duan Lingtian's reply caused Zhou Zheng to be momentarily at a loss for words. It was a long while before he finally asked, "What do you think, customer?" "I sold the 2 auction items at your Zhou clan's auction square for a total of 800,000 high-grade origin stones. How about this? Give me 1 million high-grade origin stones, and I'll accept your apology reluctantly," Duan Lingtian said. Black. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, before Zhou Zheng could react, this thought had already appeared in the minds of most of the people present. Although they did not know what kind of conflict Duan Lingtian had with the Zhou clan, they did not know. However, based on Duan Lingtian's words, He actually asked the Zhou clan to take out 200,000 high-grade origin stones as an apology. In their opinion, he was too greedy. To their surprise, when Zhou Zheng, the clan leader of the Zhou clan, regained his senses, he laughed and casually took out a spatial ring before he passed it to Duan Lingtian. Here's 1 million high-grade origin stones, of which 800,000 is what you deserve. As for the remaining 200,000, consider it as an apology. Zhou Zheng looked at Duan Lingtian with a smile. Dear guest, now that you've buried the hatchet with our Zhou clan, I wonder if you can tell me your identity and origin? I'll tell you after I'm done inspecting it. Under Zhou Zheng's shocked and awkward gaze, Duan Lingtian took the spatial ring that Zhou Zheng passed to him and performed a blood ownership claim on it before he carefully inspected it. That's right, it's 1 million high-grade origin stones. After a long while, Duan Lingtian finally nodded his head in satisfaction after he confirmed it. Duan Lingtian's actions caused the corners of the surrounding people's mouths to twitch uncontrollably. Was this fellow worried that the clan leader of the Zhou clan would lie to him? My lord, now you should tell us the origin of the sword and pill that you put up for auction, right? Someone asked urgently when they saw Duan Lingtian keeping the spatial ring that Zhou Zheng passed to him. For a time, apart from Feng Tianwu, everyone present, including Zhou Zheng and Zhou Ji, shifted their attention to Duan Lingtian. It was obvious that they were curious about this. In their opinion, this would determine whether they would have the opportunity to obtain a rare treasure like the sword and pill in the future. In Zhou Zheng and Zhou Ji's opinion, this would determine the identity of the purple-clad young man in front of them. Of course not. Just when Duan Lingtian was about to say of course not, he seemed to have noticed something. Not only did he interrupt himself, but he also looked at the sky in the east. Who's that? When Duan Lingtian looked at the sky in the east, Zhou Zheng also noticed the commotion. His face darkened, and his robe fluttered even though there was no wind. A moment later, a figure wearing a silver-blue robe appeared. It was a sturdy old man with a curly beard. At this moment, the old man's face was dark, and his eyes were as big as copper gongs. It was as though they were going to spit fire. Zhou Zheng was stunned when he saw the curly-bearded old man. He's out of closed-door cultivation? Who killed my son? Zhou Li? Before Zhou Zheng could react, the curly-bearded old man had already arrived at the sky above the Zhou clan's auction square. His thunderous voice resonated in the air. It was filled with extreme anger. Zhou Li? Duan Lingtian raised his eyebrows. He could guess the identity of the person who had just arrived. Previously, at the backstage of the auction, the Zhou clan's disciple who wanted to take his Grade 1 Spirit Sword and Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill had his cultivation base crippled by him before he was killed by him. He still remembered. When he killed Zhou Li, Zhou Ji had mentioned that Zhou Li was the only son of the Zhou clan's Grand Elder. Therefore, the curly-bearded old man's identity was self-evident. The Zhou clan's Grand Elder. Grand Elder, why are you here? Zhou Zheng rose into the air and frowned as he looked at the Zhou clan's Grand Elder. Clan leader, even if I don't become the Zhou clan's Grand Elder today and leave the Zhou clan, I won't let the person who killed my son, Zhou Li, go. The Zhou clan's Grand Elder said angrily in a deep voice. He had just come out of closed-door cultivation today. As soon as he came out of closed-door cultivation, he learned that his son had been killed. At that moment, he felt his entire chest was filled with anger. It was difficult to suppress it. At that time, many of the Zhou clan's elders had told him the ins and outs of the matter. They even told him that the person who killed his son, Zhou Li, had an extraordinary background. However, when he saw his only son's corpse, how could the Zhou clan's Grand Elder, who had to bear the pain of having to send off his son before his death, swallow this anger? He immediately rushed to the Zhou clan's auction square. Grand Elder, why do you have to do this? Zhou Zheng did not expect the old man to be so resolute. He could not help but smile bitterly. Clan leader, even if his background is extraordinary, I'll still kill him today. After I kill him, I'll announce that I'm leaving the Zhou clan, and I won't implicate the Zhou clan. The Zhou clan's Grand Elder said in a deep voice, no matter what, I'll avenge my son. Grand Elder, what if I insist on stopping you? Zhou Zheng's expression turned solemn. In his opinion, today, It did not matter if the purple-clad young man was a match for their Zhou clan's Grand Elder. Once their Grand Elder made a move, the Zhou clan would be the one to suffer losses. If the purple-clad young man was not a match for their Zhou clan's Grand Elder, the Grand Elder would have no choice but to leave the Zhou clan and go on the run after killing the purple-clad young man. In that case, the Zhou clan would lose a powerhouse who was a pillar of support. If the purple-clad young man was more powerful than their Zhou clan's Grand Elder, their Zhou clan would still lose such a powerhouse after the Grand Elder died. For this reason, he only wanted to stop their Zhou clan's Grand Elder. Clan leader, you can't stop me, the Zhou clan's Grand Elder said as he glanced at Zhou Zheng indifferently. Grand Elder, regardless of whether I can stop you or not, I'll still try. If it's possible, I don't want the Zhou clan to lose you. Zhou Zheng took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, if that's the case, then I won't hold back. The Zhou clan's Grand Elder's eyes turned cold. His body flashed like the wind and shot towards Zhou Zheng like a bolt of lightning. His speed was so fast that most of the people present could not even catch a glimpse of it. In their eyes, the Zhou clan's Grand Elder had disappeared into thin air. The clan leader of the Zhou clan, Zhou Zheng, had also disappeared into thin air. Boom, 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 boom. A series of rolling sounds of air exploding reverberated from the sky, causing waves of vast airwaves and setting off gusts of violent wind that raged in all directions. The violent wind raged and swept across the land, causing the robes of the group of people, including Duan Lingtian, to flutter in the wind. Why is the Zhou clan's Grand Elder fighting with the clan leader of the Zhou clan? Many people asked in surprise when they saw the silhouettes that appeared and crossed each other in the air. It seems like the Zhou clan's Grand Elder's son was killed. He's here to look for the person who killed his son. However, the person who killed his son seems to have an extraordinary background. At the very least, even the clan leader of the Zhou clan is wary of him. I heard it too. According to the Zhou clan's Grand Elder, even if he kills the person who killed his son, he'll still have to leave the Zhou clan. It's obvious that he's worried about dragging the Zhou clan into this. I wonder who that person is. Many people discussed among themselves. However, they did not know that the person they were talking about was standing right next to them. 9th level martial monarch stage? I'm afraid the clan leader of the Zhou clan is going to lose. The others might not be able to see the movements of the clan leader of the Zhou clan and the Zhou clan's Grand Elder, but it did not mean that Duan Lingtian could not. After watching for a while, Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. Almost as soon as his words left his mouth, 2 silhouettes appeared in front of him in the air. One of them was sent flying several dozen meters away. The remaining person stood there proudly. The Zhou clan's Grand Elder. Grand Elder. YUVE broken through to the 9th level martial monarch stage? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.